yourself. Please note down two Wi-Fi, please note down. First, IPU space 150 dash main space hall. M and H will be capital letters. I repeat, IPU, all capitals, space 150 dash main space hall. M and H will be capital letters. Here, no password is required. I hope everybody has noted down. This is for your convenience. And another Wi-Fi address, please note down in case you need it. 150 dash assembly. A will be capital. And here, there is a password, Tashkent, T capital, dash 150. I repeat the second one, 150 dash assembly, A will be capital. Password, Tashkent, T capital, dash 150. Friends, we immediately go to listening to the esteemed speakers. We have paucity of time. As I have been told, 6 minutes would be allotted to each speaker, and let us all adhere to the timing. So here I request our speaker from Kazakhstan to deliver his or her address. Thank you.
Құрметті төрайым, қадірлі
Honorable Chairperson, dear colleagues, it is a great honor for me to speak at this meeting on behalf of the Parliamentary Republic of Kazakhstan. We are pleased that the 150th anniversary assembly of the Parliamentary Union is being held in the beautiful city of Tashkent, which is known as the star of the East. This assembly is taking place for the first time in Central Asia along the historic Silk Road, which has united nations and peoples, language and cultures for centuries. Continuing along this great path of civilization, today our assembly is discussing the role of Parliament in ensuring social development and social justice. The soil humanity has always aspired to justice. The great thinker of the East, Al-Farabi, in the 9th century, in his famous treatise on the virtuous cities, wrote about justice, equality among citizens, the protection of the weak, and mutual help as the main conditions for a society. Today, the demand for justice in society has increased incomparably. This is largely due to several global trends and challenges. New technologies are radically altering the economic structure of the world and the role of humans within it. Artificial intelligence, with its advantages and risks, is rapidly entering our daily lives. All of this is happening alongside climate change and natural disasters. The ongoing economic crisis is exacerbated by sanctions. The idea of a new social contract proposed by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has become particularly relevant in such circumstances. In our view, the core principles of this contract are justice and cooperation. Parliament, as institutions representing the people, could play a leading role in its implementation. Dear colleagues, in the Parliament of Kazakhstan, we understand well the importance of social development and social justice. Justice is considered the ideological foundation of the political course of our President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. Under the leadership of the President, our country is carrying out systematic political and economic reforms. These reforms are aimed at creating a just Kazakhstan and state of equal opportunities for all and each of us. These reforms have expanded the public's ability to engage in politics and reduce social inequality. Special attention is being given to the development of inclusion, access to healthcare and education, and the fair distribution of national wealth. All of this is reflected in the laws adopted by the Parliament. For example, a law called the National Fund for Children has been adopted. According to this law, half of the annual income from the National Fund is transferred to special savings accounts for children under the age of 18. This aims to provide future generations with stable financial resources. By providing all citizens with decent work, social guarantees, and full opportunities for professional growth, fair conditions are being created for them. Many international experts have widely noted that over the past 30 years, the financial sector has been displacing real production. This has had an adverse impact on the decline of the social role of the state and the protection of workers' rights. Therefore, we attach great importance to creating a fair environment in Kazakhstan by ensuring decent work, social guarantees, and equal professional growth opportunities for all citizens. For instance, our president has declared this year as the year of labor professionals in Kazakhstan. We are convinced that without creating fair conditions for workers, it is impossible to build a strong, inclusive economy. Social entrepreneurship is developing. Kazakhstan is actively participating in the Global Coalition for Social Justice initiated by the International Labour Organization. Dear colleagues, at the international level, Kazakhstan demonstrates its commitment to the principles of social justice and human rights. In order to implement sustainable development, we are actively engaging. The Parliament has adopted the Pact for the Future in 2024. We have established a parliamentary commission to monitor the achievement of national goals in sustainable development. Kazakhstan's initiative to host the UN Sustainable Development Goals Center for Central Asia and Afghanistan in Almaty has become one of the key international strategic projects. In this regard, in early March this year, the relevant resolution of the United Nations General Assembly was unanimously approved. Allow me to express sincere gratitude to all the member countries of the organization for their support. We are ready to actively cooperate with our international partners and parliamentarians in all the countries to promote the new regional center. During the upcoming general debate in Tashkent and through continued discussions in parliamentary discussions, we are ready to exchange experiences with our colleagues. I kindly invite all of you to hold a fruitful dialogue followed by future cooperation. And on behalf of the Kazakhstan delegation, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to our Uzbek brothers for their hospitality and for organizing this important parliamentary forum. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Kazakhstan. Now I humbly call upon the esteemed speaker from Turkey to come on to the dais and deliver his address. Let's stick to the time of 6 minutes, please. And I will request the speaker from Belarus to get ready.
Sayın Başkan, saygıdeğer meclis başkanları, dünya parlamentolarının değerli temsilcileri, hepinizi ülkem adına saygıyla selamlıyorum. bugün burada halklarımızın ortak geleceğini konuşmak ve bu uğurda sorumluluklarımızı üstlenen meclisler olarak yapacaklarımızı gözden geçirmek için bir aradayız. Bizler milletlerimizi temsil ettiğimiz gibi aynı zamanda insanlığın ortak vicdanını da temsil ediyoruz. Toplantımız aslında
represent the shared concerns of the humanity in a world. This meeting is taking place at a time when international order is facing profound and complex challenges amidst political and economic crisis, escalating geopolitical tensions. As the parliamentarians, we carry a fundamental responsibility. The development of countries and communities is not only relying on increasing opportunities or on welfare. In addition to these, and even more important than that, we need to put into center the dignity of people. We need to take into account justice, and we need to cover all segments of the society. This has to be the very essence of our understanding. Law cannot be perceived as an instrument which gives priority to certain segments of society, increasing the welfare of certain segments of the society. And if politics is protecting the interests of the power of certain parts of the society, then the communities are jeopardized and the threats for global wars emerge. Today, when we're talking, we see that the gap in terms of welfare is deepening throughout the world. The global welfare is collected under the hands of a small community, and millions of people are deprived of even their most fundamental needs. The right to have access to information is left to the monopoly of digital giant companies. The technology which is expected to enhance the welfare of humanity is now in the hands of global companies in order to increase their monopoly on power and to make sure that consumers are relying on them. The public opinion is at the hands of media. The algorithms are shaping and jeopardizing the perception of the world. And this process, on the other hand, is deeply and adversely affecting our democracy. At one hand, as parliamentarians, we need to interfere in this process. Otherwise, democracy will get smaller and smaller, and we will take our steps towards a world where the lower rungs of the communities which cannot receive there from economic profits, and that growth will not be sustainable if young people are deprived of equal opportunities in education. In the long and medium run, women's participation in labor force will be deteriorated, and half of the community will be deprived of their rights and their rights to a fair development. In order to build a fair development, there are three main responsibilities required by communities. I have to stress one of this pillar is investing in education. The second, enhancing social policies, and the third one is to create a fair economic system. And in order to do so, to mobilize all available instruments. Distinguished members of the parliament, my colleagues, the parliaments cannot solely focus on domestic issues or challenges. In today's global world, politics is an instrument which is shaping under the very shadow of global power conflicts. Beyond these wars and conflicts, our duties are to enhance peace, dialogue, and cooperation. This should be our perspective. As the parliaments which represent the very will and determination of our peoples, we should never refrain from assuming responsibilities in a global fashion. In today's world, there are so many challenges that are beyond our borders, and in order to resolve these issues, we need to cooperate beyond our borders. Therefore, based on understanding of cooperation between nations, we have to have faith in parliamentary democracy. We have to give the utmost significance to parliamentary democracy. In today's world, there's this new societal agreement that goes beyond the borders. There's this new need for a global pact agreement. All of these challenges that we go through have demonstrated once again that we're standing at a point where there are no words available, that we're not dealing with the acquainted words or methods, and today's world's challenges cannot be solved with the existing solutions. The most prominent example of this, the most prominent case of this, we can see, and I'd like to share right now on this occasion as the necessity of my concise. in Gaza, we have been seeing for the past 1.5 years, where more than 50,000 civilians have been killed relentlessly and mercilessly. This is one of the greatest genocides that the world has ever seen. But unfortunately, no institution in the world is courageous enough or has taken enough steps to prevent this genocide, this crime committed against humanity. And the voices that are raised are not strong enough. And unfortunately, it's not sufficient to seek the best interests of the Palestinian people. Within this scope, the global conscience as well as global conscience is currently being tested. This is like a litmus test. Even this table, even what's happening in Gaza and Palestine right now, set aside all the other global conflicts. Only even they demonstrate that we need a new global order, that there's this huge need for a new global economic architecture that is required. That is so clear. The legislative organs and instruments cannot be only focusing on domestic affairs, but instead should work towards building a new global order. This is the responsibility that has to be fulfilled. Within this framework, all of us, all the parliaments in the world, I'm calling upon you to build a new, fair, just economic architecture. This can only be possible with our cooperation, and anything that we will do towards this end will have the greatest contribution to humanity. Please extend my heartfelt greetings.
Now I request the speaker from Belarus to come and deliver her address. And thereafter, speaker from Egypt would be invited. Kindly stick to 6 minutes, please.
Madam President, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the National Assembly of the Republic of Belarus, it is a sincere honor and privilege for me to welcome you at this landmark 150th Assembly of the IPU. First of all, I would like to express our deep gratitude to the leadership of the Republic of Uzbekistan for inviting our parliament to take part in this major event and for the warm hospitality that we benefit from here. The IPU Assembly is a unique platform for discussing urgent international matters that are instrumental for our people. We stick to the principles of equal and respectful dialogue in the work of this assembly. This strengthens the role of parliamentary diplomacy in terms of finding solutions to present-day challenges and enables us to promote social justice as a main path to sustainable development. Amid the onslaught of geopolitical transformations, our world is changing. There are wars, conflicts, hostility, arms races, the revival of bloc mentality and confrontation. All this consumes our planet. Countries increase their military spending all the time. This creates the risk of a large-scale war breaking out even greater. In today's world, social justice and social responsibility are increasingly being replaced by the vested interests of certain countries that seek global dominance. Income inequality, often worsened by along gender lines, as well as unequal access to basic public goods, leads to growing social imbalances both within and between countries. How do you ensure sustainable development when you face illegal sanctions where all these conflicts around the world and people are dying while their fundamental rights, including the right to life, are being sacrificed for the sake of geopolitical competition? Colleagues, we're living in a time of crisis in international relations, and against this backdrop, we, the parliamentarians, must promote social and economic human rights. We must promote justice and solidarity. We must be the guardians of peace and stability at the global level. Parliaments are the ones that engineer social policies. They must be proactive in adopting laws to protect citizens' rights, ensure social equality, and ensure that people can live decent lives, to support the vulnerable, and to promote sustainable social development. The Republic of Belarus has always placed people front and center in its state policy. For about 3.5 decades since independence, we have achieved a lot, and we are proud of our achievements, and future generations will also be proud. We've built a truly sovereign and independent state. We stand tall as a country. This is a country for the people, a country where it's good to live, and we trusted Alexander Lukashenko, our president, to lead us in these efforts. In our parliament, we have a principle, a guiding principles of adopting fair laws in greater justice for everyone, for every individual, universal health care, clean drinking water, quality food, and available education. These are not just public goods, these are fundamental values that have integrated our daily lives in Belarus, and these results from our consistency in our social policy and the adherence, unwavering commitment to our priorities. Dear colleagues, social development and justice and achieving SDGs requires global cooperation. We must exchange our best practices as parliamentarians and build network of unity, of solidarity. Belarus is a peace-loving country. We promote peaceful coexistence, equal and fair interstate cooperation. We must combine our efforts and work together to come up with joint initiatives. Within the IPU, there is an informal association, the Group of Friends for Peaceful and Constructive Development. This could serve as a new avenue for inter-parliamentary diplomacy in order to strengthen international understanding. We must shift our focus in terms of spending from military affairs to social policy. This will make our societies much more stable. Instead of investing in weapons and military infrastructure, we must use these resources to resolve social matters, education, healthcare, maternal and child protection, and supporting vulnerable groups. This approach could bring together the international community for achieving constructive goals and ensuring long-term development, peace and security goals for our countries. I would like to wish all of you fruitful work for the prosperity of our nations and the well-being of our peoples. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Before time, here is a compliment for you. And now I request our esteemed speaker from Egypt to come onto the dais and address all of us. And thereafter, we will have our friend from Equatorial Guinea to address us.
Honorable Ms. Tulia Aksen, President of the IPU, Honorable Ms. Tanzila, President of this General Assembly and Speaker of the Uzbek Senate, Honorable Mr. Martin Chungong, IPU Secretary General, Honorable Speakers of Parliaments and Heads of Parliamentary Delegations, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to be with you once again in the framework of the regular and commendable meetings of our esteemed Union. I also extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to our friends in the Parliament of the Republic of Uzbekistan and the IPU Secretariat for their tireless efforts to host and organize the work of our esteemed Assembly. Distinguished attendees, undoubtedly, establishing solid foundations for social development and justice based on justice and equality has become a top priority, given their vital role in enhancing the security, stability, and cohesion of societies. There is no true guarantee of societal security without good governance of development efforts and ensuring the equitable distribution of their outcomes. Failure to meet the requirements of social development and justice constitutes a serious threat not only to societal peace, but also to to world peace. Even though achieving social development and justice is highly crucial, we should not in any way ignore the deteriorating state of global justice, whose credibility is eroding day by day in light of the inability of the international system institutions to stop the blatant historical injustice against the brotherly Palestinian people, who remain steadfast on their land in face of a series of horrific crimes by the Israeli occupation, which amounts to genocide and ethnic cleansing, in addition to the attempt to displace them from their land and the infringement of their legitimate, inalienable rights represented in the establishment of an independent Palestinian state on the borders of June 4, 1967, with East Jerusalem as its capital, in accordance with international legitimacy resolutions. Dear colleagues, on the threshold of establishing its new republic, Egypt has adopted an ambitious agenda to achieve social justice as a cornerstone of its development agenda, Egypt's Vision 2030. This agenda focuses on building a just and cohesive society characterized by equal economic, social, and political rights. On the parliamentary level, the Egyptian House of Representatives has provided a legislative umbrella supporting the Egyptian state's efforts to promote social justice. This has been embodied in several legislations, all of which aim to build a more just and equitable society. In this context, the House of Representatives has recently issued the Social Solidarity Law, which aims to unify the cash support programs provided by the state into a single program that achieves a unified financial base. The law also guarantees the rights of the most vulnerable groups, such as people with disabilities, the elderly, and orphans, and provides them with the maximum possibility of protection. In an effort to create a safer and fairer work environment for workers and achieve the required balance between all parties involved in the production process, the Egyptian House of Representatives has approved a new draft labor law that guarantees effective legal protection for workers' rights and prohibits arbitrary dismissal. The Egyptian state has also shown its unwavering commitment to promoting humanitarian values and policies. The Egyptian House of Representatives has recently passed the Foreign Asylum Law. This is the first Egyptian legislation to regulate the affairs of refugees and asylum seekers in Egypt. It outlines their rights and obligations in compliance with various international agreements ratified by Egypt. Most notably, the United Nations Convention relating to the status of refugees. It aims to ensure that those seeking refuge in Egypt can live with dignity on its soil. Finally, in light of the grave and escalating challenges that the world is currently facing at all levels, threatening to completely and totally undermine global security and the stability and cohesion of our societies, it is urgent more than ever to exert national and international parliamentary efforts so as to reduce economic gaps and inequalities, eradicate poverty, achieve sustainable development, and strengthen social safety nets in order to allow our peoples to enjoy the prosperity and peace that they deserve. In conclusion, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Egypt. Much before 6 minutes, special thanks. Now I request our esteemed speaker from Equatorial Guinea to come over to the dais and address all of us. And let's stick to the six minutes time limit. Thank you.
Excelentísimas señoras autoridades,
Excellencies,
se me permitido May I first of all, on behalf of the Equatorial Guinean Parliament, express our congratulations vis-à-vis the Uzbekistan Parliament and the IPU. Congratulations on the outstanding organization of this 150th Assembly. We're very grateful also for our warm welcome in this beautiful city of Tashkent. In terms of the topic under discussion, we wish to say we appreciate the decision to discuss the theme parliamentary action in favor of social development and social justice. The delegation of the Parliament of Equatorial Guinea, which I have the honor of representing here, is very proud to be able to share with this august assembly some thoughts we have on this matter. We represent the people. Parliaments therefore have a key role to play in this area and in organizing social development and social justice, which should become a reality for all. Hence, we must take up the issue of eradicating poverty, create productive work, promote social inclusion. Parliamentary action has to be taken to foster social justice and development. The impetus should be given by parliaments, for this is within their purview. Such action can be carried out through modern parliamentary tools, drafting laws, implementing them, and adopting general budgets for our state. All of this should aim to achieve effective parliamentary action. The Parliament of Equatorial Guinea pays great attention to policies in favor of social development and justice. We always support the government to roll out these policies through parliamentary action based on the approval of draft legislation and general state budget. We need to allocate substantial amounts for government programs like assisting the disabled. We support also schools for children, help needy families, promote women's rights, and so, etc. In this context, in 2021, our parliament approved a new labor law, which is in force in the country. One of its clauses establishes more rights for workers and also social rights, like inter alia, enjoying a dignified existence and fair labor rights. Likewise, social welfare in order to enjoy benefits like health care, occupational accident insurance, etc. Action taken by the Equatorial Guinea Parliament to achieve a social development and justice is based on supporting the work of our government in this respect. Finally, I should like to underscore the action promoted by our First Lady in social areas like education, by contributing to modern schools, promoting child education and health, building modern health centers which are properly equipped to protect the health of the population. Likewise, there's a policy to emancipate women and empower them. They're granted interest-free loans in their social programs in favor of women and child welfare. Likewise, we want to promote the skills within the country. To conclude, I hope that our deliberations will be crowned with success, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Now I request the speaker from Botswana to come over and deliver his address. And I also request the speaker from Turkmenistan to be ready for the next address. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. President of the 150th Assembly, the President of the IPU, Dr. Tulia Axen, the Secretary General, Mr. Chungong, Right Honorable Speakers, Members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin on a note of piety. It is both a privilege and an honor to address this August Assembly for the first time as the 10th Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Botswana and as the youngest Speaker in my nation's history, the youngest in the Southern African region, the second youngest in Africa, and among the youngest in this global body. I stand here humbly, not as a symbol of youth, but rather as proof that democracy renews itself when given a chance to do so. In October 2024, Botswana was one of the 7 countries in the SADC region and among 72 world parliaments which held elections. It was also one of the 2 countries where there was a peaceful transfer of power. Our country holds an impeccable record as the only post-independent African country to have maintained multi-party democracy characterized by a quinquennial review of the government's mandate through elections and relative good governance. We have once again, in November 2024, through a smooth, seamless, and orderly transition of power from one political party to another, affirmed that we were, are, and will always be a great nation. We are not only the diamond heart of Africa and a peaceful nation, but we are indeed an African miracle. We witnessed a historic democratic transition in which, after nearly 6 decades of rule by one party, our people spoke unequivocally for change, and power shifted peacefully to the umbrella for democratic change under the able leadership of President Advocate Duma Gideon Boko. May Almighty God preserve and protect him. This process was not merely an election, but a rebirth of the principles of accountability and a demand through the ballot box for a new order in which there is social development and justice. It signified the consolidation and maturity of our democracy, as it was a sharp contrast from the trend of unconstitutional changes of government witnessed elsewhere on the African continent. Sir Saratsakama, the first president of our great republic, once said, "Democracy, like a plant, does not grow or develop on its own. It must be nursed, nurtured, if it is to grow and flourish. It must be believed in and practiced if it is to be appreciated, and it must be fought for and defended if it is to survive." As a new government, we have fought gallantly for our democracy, and we therefore commit to nurturing this democracy through robust democratic reform. Parliament now has fewer women at only 9% or 6 women MPs. In comparison to other parliaments the world over, these are very low and disappointing statistics. Therefore, this calls for us to reflect and introspect on the IPU's call for gender parity, which should not be viewed just as an idea of young parliamentarians as per the IPU standards. Members of the 13th Parliament of the Republic of Botswana are an educated and diverse group whose mandate is to be a model of excellence in democracy through the following democratic pillars: providing transformative legislation that uplifts the marginalized, relentless oversight to curb corruption, robust capacity building to equip MPs as stewards of justice, and promote parliamentary diplomacy to forge alliances to amplify these goals and objectives globally. Botswana's new administration has placed human rights at the center of its activities and processes. This has been a restructuring of our foreign policy, where we place human rights at the center of our engagements with external actors and partners. The human rights approach is not only a moral imperative, but a reflection of Botswana's commitment to democratic principles, justice, and equality. Botswana thus strives to engage with other nations from a position of integrity and conviction. By adopting a human rights-based approach, the government of Botswana supports causes for promoting peace, stability, and sustainable development, both at home and abroad. I stand before you to address the critical importance of parliamentary action in fostering social development and justice as captured by the theme of this assembly. Parliaments are the voice of the people, a barometer of public opinion, and hold a sacred responsibility of championing policies and legislation to uplift the lives of all citizens, especially the most vulnerable. We must be proactive in enacting laws that promote the economic empowerment of our citizens, creating an enabling environment for sustainable job creation, entrepreneurship, and skills development. These include promoting access to finance, technology, and markets for all our citizens, regardless of their background. Honorable Chair, Speakers, and members of Parliament, gender equality is not just a matter of fairness, it is essential for social and economic progress. In this regard, we must enact laws and policies that promote equal opportunities for women and girls in all areas.
Thank you very much.
In conclusion, let's take solace in Nelson Mandela's words of wisdom that what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived, it is what difference we have made to the lives of others. Let us all rise to the occasion and fulfill our mandate as parliamentarians to serve the people and build a more just and equitable world. It is now or never. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Botswana. Now we turn to Turkmenistan. Request Turkmenistan to deliver the address, and thereafter we would all be listening to Bahrain.
Dear ladies and gentlemen,
Dear ladies and
let me thank you
allow
for the
me
high-level
to commend
organization
the Uzbek
of the work of the 150th Anniversary Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union and for the opportunity to make a speech. The holding of the 150th Anniversary Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union in the Central Asia, namely in Uzbekistan, will be more significant for the Central Asian countries and will help to activate effective regional and global cooperation. Dear participants of the Assembly, on the initiative of Turkmenistan, the legal status of the permanent neutrality was recognized 3 times by the United Nations General Assembly in 1995 and 2015, and recently on March 21st, 2025, by the historical resolution adopted by the unanimous support of the UN member states, and 2025 was declared as the International Year for Peace and Trust. And it shows that the humanitarian peace-loving policy of Turkmenistan and its initiatives aimed at expanding cooperation with the world states to jointly achieve the sustainable development goals are widely supported by the whole world. Ladies and gentlemen, at this meeting we discussed the important issues of the present time, social development and parliamentary movements for justice. Every year, more than 75% of the expenditures of the state budget of Turkmenistan are directed to the social sectors. Salaries, state allowances are constantly increased, and social benefits are created for the citizens. The work on maternal and child health care and support for the families is carried out by Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov Charity Fund for assistance to the children in need of guardianship, in cooperation with the international organizations.
Осуществляется государством и благотворительным фондом по оказанию помощи нуждающимся в опеке детям имени Гурбангулы Бердымухамедова в сотрудничестве с международными организациями. На международной конференции недавно
At the international conference, the Year of Peace and Trust Development of International Activities for the Sake of Children, recently held on the occasion of the 4th anniversary of the foundation of this fund, it was also noted that Turkmenistan actively participates in the international humanitarian cooperation, among which the Sustainable Development Goals of the Agenda for the period up to 2030 take special place. Dear participants of the Assembly, in this regard, there is an organized concept of the country's foreign policy. The permanent neutrality of Turkmenistan served as an active diplomatic approach that promotes peace, stability, and economic cooperation. Turkmenistan directly connects the idea of peace and trust with economic development. As the national leader of Turkmen people, Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov noted in his speech at the international conference, the International Year of Peace and Trust, the role of inter-regional economic cooperation in ensuring sustainable development, recently held in Turkmenistan. Our country is ready to cooperate effectively by implementing the policy of neutrality and the open doors economic strategy. Besides, the Central Asia European Union Summit, held for the first time in Samarkand, seat of the Republic of Uzbekistan, will promote the development of multifaceted long-term cooperation between the two regions on a regular basis. In this regard, we invite the representatives of the Inter-Parliamentary Union to participate in the Parliament youth forums that will be held in our country in August of this year under auspices of the United Nations organizations within the framework of the Third United Nations International Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries. Dear participants, we believe that our result of the efforts of the Inter-Parliamentary Union national parliaments will take worthy contribution to the strengthening of peace and mutual trust in the world as well as the fair social development. Taking this opportunity, we would like to wish all our colleagues sound health, long life, success in the work, further prosperity and well-being in the countries of the world. Thank you very much.
So much within the prescribed time limit. Now we move to Bahrain. Call upon Bahrain to come over to the dais and deliver the address. And I will request South Africa to get ready for the next address.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, excellencies, speakers of parliaments, national assemblies, and heads of delegations, ladies and gentlemen, may the peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon you all. At the outset, it is my pleasure to convey to you the salutations of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, the King of the Kingdom of Bahrain. May God preserve and protect him, as well as his best wishes of success to you and this conference. It is also my pleasure to congratulate you, Ms. Tanzila Namarayeva, Speaker of the Senate of Uzbekistan, on your election to preside over the works and sittings of this 150th Assembly. We wish you the best of luck and success. I would also like to congratulate His Excellency Mr. Shaukat Minaziev, the President of Uzbekistan, for hosting the works and sittings of this 150th Assembly. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting tackles a highly important topic: parliamentary action for social justice and development. Stemming from our parliamentary responsibilities, whether within the IPU or in our national assemblies and parliaments, towards social justice, because it is one of the main and primordial pillars of economic development alongside environmental protection and climate action. It is very important, and it is high time for us to discuss all of these issues because they strengthen the social dimensions of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. They also contribute to putting forth a global vision that is centered around social justice and development in the upcoming World Summit to be held in Qatar on social development in November of this year. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, the Kingdom of Bahrain, under the leadership of His Majesty the King, may God preserve and protect him, and also with the support of Crown Prince and Prime Minister, may also God protect and save him, is very keen to provide protection to vulnerable social groups and to strengthen their participation in all avenues of social life and work. This contributes to translating their ambitions to reality. Citizens of Bahrain enjoy a wide range of social and legal services, in addition to healthcare, basic education, and they also enjoy social protection. granted to them through a wide array of programs and projects, including cash handouts that are provided to families, widowed women, divorced women, the elderly, people with disabilities, the unemployed, single individuals, and orphans. Social security is the cornerstone of our entire social protection system. It focuses on protecting vulnerable individuals and upgrading their livelihoods and lifestyles. The Kingdom of Bahrain allocates a great deal of importance and attention to people with disabilities, and we consider them to be equal citizens of Bahrain. We have launched a number of initiatives and projects aiming at involving them and engaging them in all avenues of social work. We have provided them, according to the law, with protection in all forms and sorts, and also with a lot of opportunities and potentials for them to participate in activities of the kingdom. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, the Kingdom of Bahrain has adopted a series of projects and programs to support the fight against poverty and to strengthen the national plan to support families in need and persons with limited and low income. And this is with the support of Her Royal Highness Sabika bint Ibrahim Al Khalifa, President of the Higher Women's Council of Bahrain, may God protect her, to support families with limited livelihoods and turn them into economic units that are able to play their role in society. We also established the Family Development Bank, aiming at providing microloans and credits to families with limited income. We also launched a fund for the development of small and medium enterprises, amounting to over 100,000 Bahraini dinars, allocated to small and medium enterprises because we consider them to be the backbone of our society. The Kingdom of Bahrain also has a special system to support wages and salaries. We respect the rights of all workers. We focus on supporting young entrepreneurs and achieving equal opportunities for everyone in employment, education, public services, digitization, and technological advancement. Now, when it comes to the health sector, the governance of health sectors in Bahrain is an example to follow. Bahrain is considered to be a pioneer country in the health sector. We provide free of charge services to our citizens, and we provide universal health coverage to all residents in Bahrain. And this is in line with the third goal of the SDGs, stating that it is necessary to achieve decent living and healthcare for all. We are very proud to celebrate on the 28th of January of every year the International Day for Peaceful Coexistence, and this is all the more proof of the wise strategy adopted by His Majesty our King to remain open and to foster understanding and tolerance. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop here to say that our meeting today is held under the slogan Parliamentary Action for Social Development and Justice, and this calls upon us to have a moment of truth, to be honest to ourselves. The Palestinian people are still suffering the lack of international justice. It is still being the victim of an ongoing slaughter. We cannot talk about social justice and development without talking about this. This cannot be guaranteed, but with the establishment of an independent Palestinian state as a strategic choice for comprehensive and lasting peace in the region. In this regard, I would like to underscore our long-standing and unwavering position in supporting the Palestinian people and in calling for the establishment of a fully potent sovereign Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital, according to the two-state solution and also the Arab peace solution. Thank you very much. But promoting coexistence, dialogue, and diplomacy remain the only way to fully achieve social justice and development. Thank you very much. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you.
May I now call upon South Africa to come on to the dais and address all of us. Thank you.
Honorable President of the Assembly, Honorable President of the IPU, Dr. Tulia Oxen in absentia, Honorable Presiding Officers, fellow speakers, honorable members, and distinguished guests. It is an honor and privilege for us in South Africa to address this 150th Assembly today. We also meet at an opportune time when we mark the 30 years following the Women's Conference in Beijing, where a call to action was made to all countries on building an equitable society where both men and women can enjoy the equal freedoms that we have all fought for, but also to ensure that both women and men can participate in building a country or countries that all of the people will appreciate. I also want to applaud the IPU that today we mark 40 years of having forged a struggle to ensure that women can have a voice in this assembly in shaping the policies as well as the programs of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. It is pleasing that this year a decision has been taken that annually the IPU will host a women's parliamentary conference where women can make their contribution on how we shape a better world. I must say, Chairperson, that when we reflect on the 30 years of Beijing, we have seen progress in women's representation in parliaments and other walks of lives. We've seen the increase in access, particularly in education, for the girl children. We've seen progress in lawmaking that has improved the lives of women. However, there remains more that needs to be done. The impact of wars and conflicts have affected women and children worse in particular. The gender-based violence have increased unabated. It is for these reasons that we believe peace is critical for development, and as the Inter-Parliamentary Union, we have the power to use our parliamentary diplomacy to work for peace. Today's debate on parliamentary action for social development and justice serves as a reminder of the immense inequality that defines and remains a silent feature of our world. It is indeed unsettling to acknowledge that only 1% of the global population continues to hold disproportionate share of global wealth. This distribution is further exacerbated in various countries where a small affluent minority holds more wealth than 90% of its population. As parliamentarians, we must acknowledge our complicity in enacting legislation that primarily benefits the wealthy and multilateral corporations, leading to excessive profits that disproportionately favor shareholders and executives. This acknowledgement brings to light weaknesses which our legislative practices and mandate sometimes brings to bear. Honorable President of the Assembly, the escalating debt levels and interest rates in developing countries continue to soar, pushing many towards crisis. Each interest rate hikes force developing nations to grapple with the choice between servicing their debt or investing in vital areas such as clean energy, education, health, and infrastructure. Shockingly, in 2023, developing countries spent a record of over $1.4 trillion on servicing debt, diverting scarce resources away from critical needs, as highlighted in the 2024 World Bank Group of International Debt Report. Furthermore, the current climate of trade wars has only worsened these circumstances. Imposing tariffs and engaging in retaliatory action have intensified global economic instability, ending up negatively affecting the most vulnerable regions. These trade conflicts exacerbate the existing global inequalities, adding another layer of hardships to the economic challenges faced by many countries. Honorable President, despite challenges and shortcomings, South Africa has come a long way in fostering unity in diversity and in promoting nation building where everyone has equal opportunities to thrive. We have enacted various pieces of legislation to promote fairness and equality for all, regardless of gender, race, or culture. Among these have been the implementation of the Employment Equity Act, the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act, the Land Expropriation Act, and many others to make sure that we can bring justice to those who are historically disadvantaged. To promote accountability, responsiveness, and openness, we've established various institutions to strengthen our constitutional democracy. This includes the South African Human Rights Commission,
the Office of the Public Protector, the Commission for Gender Equality, and many others. The establishment has ushered in a new era of accountability and respect for all. Honorable President, the upcoming Second World Summit for Social Development in Doha, Qatar, presents an opportunity to create a new path, a path anchored by enhanced social protection systems targeting vulnerable groups to reduce inequalities and ensure digital inclusion, investment in sustainable infrastructure, and protection of biodiversity, and commitment to achieve gender parity in all sectors, including political representation, education, and employment. We do hope, honorable members, that our continued participation in these multiple fora will indeed ensure that we can have sustainable development and justice. I thank you.
Thank you so much, South Africa. Completed just within the time limit. Thanks a lot. Now we move to Malta. I call upon the speaker from Malta to deliver the address. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues and fellow parliamentarians, having been a member of Parliament since 1996 and then Speaker of the Maltese Parliament since 2013, one aspect I learned through my experience is that politics and people should be close always to each other. Coming from a small island, Malta, in our parliamentary system, we have members of parliament that keep their profession. Throughout the years, this aspect in our system has been controversial as it can lead to conflicts of interest. However, one argument which has constantly resisted change in our parliamentary system is that when politicians keep their professions, they are more aware of what the problems are on the ground, what are the needs and the challenges that people face. So social justice must start from good laws. There cannot be social development and justice without good and effective laws. Good and effective laws are crucial, but they are equally worthless if not enforced properly. Therefore, parliaments have an essential role in putting social development and justice high on their agenda. The protection of social justice must never be considered in the abstract. It must be guided by universal principles that leave no room for doubt. Only in this way we can set a pattern for the implementation of the measures by means of which social justice can truly be achieved, placing on the forefront all persons who yearn for justice, most especially the vulnerable. One of the most important recent political developments that happened in Europe and Malta as well was the creation of the welfare state during the second half of the 20th century. Malta today has a robust social security system which contributes to an improved social justice. These efforts and the numerous acts passing through Parliament throughout the years sometimes are taken for granted. But it takes a huge effort by national authorities to dedicate a large part of the national budget dedicated to social development. My message to the executive, not only of my country, but to all the world, is that this is the money well spent. We must make sure that our expenditure is dedicated to those who really are in need. We tend to measure a country's success solely on how the gross domestic product improves year by year. Well, that's good. The GDP growth is an important factor, but it should not be the only measurement to mark the development of society. Respect for human rights, social rights, gender balance, these are the most important elements that need to be financed and factored in the equation of what is growth and what is development. A stronger economy is not an end in itself, but should serve as a means for the wealth to be well distributed, justly distributed, the way amongst our citizens. It is useless to have a strong growth in the GDP when such growth and results are not there. Fighting social discrimination is another important aspect to social development. Taking the issue of the gender, women in Malta, for example, were granted the first right to vote in 1947. Few women have been elected to our parliament since Malta became independent in 1964. So we had to introduce constitutional amendments, introducing a gender corrective mechanism during the last legislature to ensure and to address the underrepresentation of women in parliament. So application of the law was created and was first ensured in 2022 in the last elections. So during this mechanism, at least we have an additional 12 female members of parliament added to our parliament, which now we have 22 female MPs in parliament, which is more than 1/3 of the whole parliament. So in 2022, our parliament unanimously approved a bill that includes also femicide in our criminal code. This bill lays out circumstances when a homicide or attempted offense was carried out because it is a woman who is the victim or a girl's gender. So, dear colleagues, these are just a few examples that we went through in my parliament and how we together as parliament can be effective in contributing to a better well-being in our societies. I want to emphasize, and I conclude, that parliaments are not only effective tools, but are essential institutions to improve social justice. So parliaments are the most important institutions that we have at our disposal to decide on a better legislation, an effective legislation, and safeguard that what has been achieved throughout the years. Therefore, it is up to us, each one of us, to use our institutions to the best of our abilities in order to improve the well-being of our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malta. May I now request the speaker from Pakistan to come over and speak to all of us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Madam Speaker, Her Excellency Dr. Toria Axon, President of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, fellow speakers and members of Parliament, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to you all. It is an honor to address this distinguished gathering at the 150th Assembly of Inter-Parliamentary Union, an institution that has long stood as the beacon of parliamentary diplomacy, cooperation, and global governance. I extend my deepest appreciation to the government and Parliament of People of Uzbekistan for their warm hospitality for hosting this momentous assembly in the historic city of Tashkent, a hub of cultural and economic exchange for centuries. As we convene here, we are reminded of our shared responsibility to build a world where justice, equality, and human dignity are not mere ideals, but live realities for all. The theme of the general debate, Parliamentary Action for Social Development and Justice, reasons deeply with Pakistan's commitment to inclusive governance, social welfare, and human-centric development. The challenges we face, rising inequality, economic disparity, terrorism, and global instability demand collective action, innovative policies, and unwavering political will. Pakistan is ready to play its role in this pursuit, leveraging legislative reforms, social programs, and international cooperation to create more just and equitable society. To translate these principles into reality, Pakistan has undertaken significant legislative and policy reforms. During my tenure as the Prime Minister of Pakistan, social safety nets such as the Benazir Income Support Program, BISP, have provided economic relief to millions of vulnerable citizens. Universal health care initiatives are expanding access to affordable medical care for all segments of society. Labor reforms continue to strengthen minimum wage protection, workplace safety standards and social security mechanism. A key initiative is the National Coalition for Social Justice, launched with the International Labour Organization, ILO, to promote their fair economic policies, stronger labor rights, and inclusive social protection by prioritizing marginalized communities, including women, persons with disabilities, and informal workers. Pakistan is turning policy into a tangible progress. Women and youth empowerment remains central to our agenda. Legal reforms now ensure greater work participation, protection against workplace harassment, and increased access to education and entrepreneurship programs. Real change comes through action. Pakistan remains committed to global partnerships and collective efforts to build a more just and equitable world. Pakistan stands in full support of the United Nations Secretary General's call for a new social contract built on equity, universal protections, and expanded decision-making for underrepresented groups. Our commitment stands beyond national borders as we actively engage in regional and global initiatives to address poverty, labor rights, and sustainable development. Migration, climate change, and digital transformation and shaping our societies in unprecedented ways, strengthening South-South cooperation, sharing best practices, and creating more inclusive global economic policies are key to ensuring that no nation is left behind. And most importantly, ensuring that no nation abuses the basic rights of another community, the barbaric genocide of Palestine and in Kashmir, and Western silence being the cause in point. As the representatives of the people, we carry the responsibility of ensuring that social development is not an abstract goal, but a reality of every citizen. Parliament must take lead in drafting policies that protect the vulnerable, empower communities, and foster a world where opportunity is truly equal. Honorable colleagues, a just society is not built on words, but on action. Pakistan reaffirms its commitment to strengthening parliamentary cooperation, implementing effective social policies, and advocating a fairness at all levels of governance. The world is at crossroads. We can either uphold the status quo or shape the future where justice is not a privilege, but for the fundamental right for all. Pakistan stands with the global community in choosing latter. Let us act together, legislate wisely, and work relentlessly to build future rooted in dignity, equity, and shared prosperity. Thank you very much. I am in time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pakistan. I request Ms. Gulmanova, and I would certainly make an appeal to her to take over the seat of the President of the Assembly. And thank you very much for listening patiently to all the speakers. Thanks a lot. Ethiopia, please.
Excellency, President of the Assembly, Honorable Dr. Tulia Aksen, the President of IPU, Honorable Martin Chugong, Executive Secretary of the IPU, Honorable Members of the Parliament, distinguished delegates and representatives of the international organizations, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to begin by expressing my heartfelt gratitude to the people and government of Uzbekistan for the warm welcoming accorded to me and my delegation since our arrival in the beautiful city of Tashkent. As we mark 150th anniversary of the IPU, Permit me also to express my sincere congratulations to all fellow members of our union on achievement of this milestone. We celebrate IPU's achievements in promoting parliamentary action to address our challenges. We also express our unwavering commitment to continue our strong collaboration to forge solidarity and partnership. As we all know, with 5 years remaining to the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, most of the targets are far from being achieved. Key goals including access to education, energy, clean water, basic health service, achieving zero hunger, gender equality, among others, still requires substantial international cooperation. Furthermore, with the rising level of inequality, poverty, youth unemployment, it is important that our development remains people-centered and creates opportunities by addressing structural inequalities. Therefore, it is critical that national parliaments play an important role in both oversighting and legislative functions. Honorable President, honorable members of the Parliament, as a nation with a vision of realizing peace and prosperity, not only at the nation but also international levels, Ethiopia has set out an ambitious 10-year national plan fully aligned with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals and Africa's Agenda 2063. Over the past 6 years, Ethiopia has made significant advance in achieving the global development targets and fast-growing economy. Poverty declined from 23.5% in 2015-16 to 19% in 2019-20. We have also made notable progress in achieving universal health, education, and clean energy access. Our flagship Green Legacy program achieved the planting of 40 billion seedlings as part of our effort to tackle the adverse impact of climate change and achieve food security and advancing the country to the water tower of the region. In this process, the Parliament plays a critical role, most importantly by allocating progressively increasing budget to proper policies and programs. The Parliament also remains decisive in passing national laws and ratifying agreements that promote employment, private and public investment, and social development. In addition, the Upper House, the House of Federation, instructed with the power of allocating of federal subsidiary to the regional states. This has greatly helped to enhancing infrastructure development, expansion of basic public service, and fair, equitable resource sharing. Honorable President, finally, we are deliberate in this gathering. Allow me to reaffirm our firm conviction that achieving sustainable development requires a whole of government approaches with leading role of parliaments. To that end, we call upon all member states, the IPU, and our development partners to enhance partnerships to be able to address underdevelopment in all parts of the world. In this closing, I will reaffirm Ethiopia's commitment to enhancing the role of parliaments through the robust parliamentary oversight and legislative actions. I really thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your speech. My name is Dunya Godel Gulmanova, Speaker of Majlis of Turkmenistan. I will be chairing this session. I now call on the Oman, please, Oman, you have the floor.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا
In the name
محمد
of God,
وعلى
the
آله
merciful,
وصحبه
the
أجمعين.
Almighty, may peace be
معالي
with you.
رئيسة مجلس الشيوخ في جمهورية أوزبكستان ومعالي رئيس المجلس التشريعي في أوزبكستان
Madam
ومعالي
Speaker
رئيسة
of
الاتحاد البرلماني الدولي
Uzbekistan,
أصحاب المعالي
the
أصحاب
Speaker of
السعادة
Parliament,
أيها
President of
الحضور
the
الكريم
IPU, Excellencies,
يسرني
ladies and
والوفد
gentlemen.
المرافق أن نعبر عن شكرنا وامتناننا وتقديرنا لحفاوة الاستقبال
Together
في
with my
بلدكم
delegation,
الصليب
I'm very
ونود أن
pleased
نشيد
indeed to say how
لحسن
grateful I
التنظيم
am
والإعداد لأعمال
to
الجمعية التي
Uzbekistan for the
تعقد
outstanding
جلستها
organization and
الاعتيادية
welcome.
150 في العاصمة طقشق
We are meeting here
مما
today
سيكون له
to
أثر في
celebrate
تحقيق
the
الأهداف المنشودة
150th
ويسهم
Assembly
في
of the
إنجاح ما سوف
IPU.
يتوصل إليه هذا
This will
الاجتماع.
enable us to
أيها
achieve
الحضور الكريم
the organization's
يعود
goal
هذا اللقاء
and
لتعزيز التعاون
attain the
الإقليمي من أجل
objectives.
التنمية والعدالة
We aspire
الاجتماعية
to
الذي
regional
سيعمل على
cooperation
تحقيق
for
العديد من
social
الأهداف التي
development
نطمح
and
إليها جميعا
justice,
والتي سيكون لها
will
الأثر
make it
الإيجابي
possible
على
to
دولنا
achieve our
وشعوبنا في
goals, and
المدين
this will have
القريب
a positive
والبعيد.
impact on our
فالتنمية
peoples
التي
and
تأخذ في
on our
الاعتبار
states
الأبعاد
in the medium and
الاجتماعية
long term.
كمحور أساسي وهام
Development that takes
وتعمل على
into
حسن استغلال الموارد
consideration the
المتاحة
social
والاهتمام
dimension
بها
and
والاستفادة
which
منها لتحقيق
seeks to
حياة
make the best
كريمة
possible
لأفراد
use of
المجتمع مع
resources
ضرورة الحفاظ عليها
to provide
واستدامتها
a
لتستفيد
dignified life for
الأجيال
all members
القادمة
of
منها
society.
وتنال
That
حقها
indeed would be
الوفير من
most
إمكانات
welcome. We
هذه
should
الموارد
enable future generations
وبالتالي
to
فإن
benefit
العمل
from the fruit of such
لتحقيق
action.
ذلك يتطلب جهدا
Currently,
مضاعفا
we
وبذلا
have
كبيرا
great wealth in our
وتعاونا بين
countries.
جميع الدول
However,
الأمر الذي
we need
نؤكد
to
عليه ونعمل
increase our
على دعمه
efforts
لينعم
in terms of
سكان هذه
cooperation between
البسيطة
countries
بالرفاه
around the world. We
الاجتماعي
reiterate the
والاستقرار
importance of
الحميد
cooperation
والعيش السعيد.
so that
أيها الحضور
peoples
الكريم
around the world
تمثل
can
التنمية
benefit from
والعدالة
prosperity
الاجتماعية
and well-being.
مرتكزا من
Ladies
مرتكزات
and
العمل
gentlemen,
الوطني في سلطنة عمان
social
وقد
development and
سعت
justice are the
بخلال
basis of
خططها
our national
وبرامجها
action in the
لتحقيق أهداف
Sultanate of
التنمية
Oman.
الاجتماعية
Thanks to our
وما
plans and
انعكس
programs
إيجابا على
to
مستوى
achieve
المعيشي
social
والرفاه
development
الاجتماعي
goals,
وتأسست على
we
أثره المدن
have
والمجتمعات
tried
المحلية
to improve our
المستدامة
social
إلى جانب
well-being
قانون
and
الحماية الاجتماعية الذي
standards
صدر
of
مؤخرا
living.
والذي يعد خطوة في
We have
تطوير نظام
also
متكامل
adopted a
للرعاية
law on
الاجتماعية
social
يضمن العيش
welfare.
الكريم لجميع فئات المجتمع
This is
وذلك
a fully
بتوفير
integrated
شبكة من
plan
الأمان
which
الاجتماعي
is
تتماشى
designed to
مع
give
أفضل
everyone a
الممارسات الدولية
dignified life.
وإن بلادي
We have a sort of
تولي
social
حقوق
welfare
الإنسان
net
وتمكين المرأة
which
أولوية
complies with
قصوى في
international
برامجها
standards.
وخططها
Our
وتشريعاتها
country
ذات العلاقة بهذا
feels
الشأن
that women's rights
كما
are of
إنها
paramount
تتبنى
importance,
نهجا
and these are
شاملا
factored into
يحقق
our programs
التوازن
and plans.
والنمو
We also have a
الاقتصادي
global plan
والاستقرار الاجتماعي
to
وفق
achieve
برؤية استقرارية
balanced
واضحة
economic
وهي رؤية
development
عمان
and
2040
economic stability.
التي تهدف
We
إلى
have
بناء
an
مجتمع
economic
مزدهر قائم
vision
على أسس
called
العدالة
Oman
والشراكة
2040.
المجتمعية وتمكين
We
الإنسان
seek to
ليكون
create
المحرك
a
الأساسي
society
للتنمية
based on social
دون أن
partnership.
تغفل حقوق
We
المكونات
wish to
الرئيسية للمجتمع
empower the citizens in
فالطفل
our country
سنت
so they can
لحمايته
become
وتأكيد حقوقه
the driving
العديد من
force behind
التشريعات
development.
والقوانين إلى جانب
Children
أصحاب الهمم
need to
من
be
ذوي
protected.
الإعاقة
We have a
وكبار
number of
السن فهم
bills that have
جميعا
been
يحظون
adopted,
بذات الاهتمام
and
والحرص
a lot
المباشر
of legislation
مؤكدين
is
المضي كل
designed
في
also
مختلف
to
المسارات
protect the
والغايات
handicapped,
لتعزيز
the
المؤشرات
disabled.
وتحقيق أهداف
Our
التنمية والعدالة
citizens, in
الاجتماعية.
fact,
أصحاب المعالي أصحاب السعادة أيها الحضور
are
الكريم في ظل
contributing
الحديث
to
عن التنمية
the
الاجتماعية
achievement of
والسعي
sustainable
لتحقيق
development
تعاون
goals.
لبلوغ
Ladies and
الغايات
gentlemen, we're
والأهداف
talking about social
فإننا يجب
development
أن لا ننسى ما
and
يعانيه
cooperation with a
إخواننا
view to
في غزة
attaining our
وفلسطين
goals.
من
Let us not
دمار
forget
شامل للبنية
the
التحتية
suffering
وإتلاف
of the
متعمد
population in
لكل
Palestine
أشكال
and in
الحياة هناك
Gaza. The infrastructure has
وفقدان
been
واضح
massively destroyed,
لأبسط الحقوق
and all
الإنسانية ومتطلبات الحياة
forms
الكريمة. هناك في
of
غزة
life have become
وفلسطين
complicated.
حرب إبادة جماعية
It is
مروعة
difficult to lead a
وانعدام تام
dignified life in
للحياة
Palestine
إلى
and
جانب
Gaza.
تفشي
There
للأمراض
is a
وانتشار
genocide which
للأوبئة
is underway.
وتوقف
there is no life. in Gaza. Diseases, epidemics are breaking out, but economic life has been paralyzed. Two-thirds of the victims are civilians, women and children. Gaza and Palestine are unable to honor their obligations when it comes to social development because the occupying force does not respect human rights. The occupying force is thwarting international education and international standards. We need to protect these values, namely human rights. Human rights are the basis for social development, which will be sustainable. We urge you to support all measures to provide for sustainable social development. All peace-loving peoples are invited to support the Palestinian cause. We want peace and stability to be reestablished in Palestine and in the world in general. We wish the Republic of Uzbekistan great success and prosperity. We are determined to cooperate with you to achieve sustainable social development. May peace be with you.
Zambia, please, the floor is yours. Madam President, dear colleagues, on behalf of the Parliament of Zambia, I am honored to join you at this important assembly to share and echo our experiences on the topic of general debate on the parliamentary action for social development and justice. Legislatures are the powerhouses as we play a crucial role in fostering social development and promoting justice through the drafting of laws, ensuring government accountability and championing policies that promote social welfare and equity that addresses poverty, education, healthcare, employment, gender equality, and social inclusion, ensuring that no segment of society is left behind. Madam President, poverty remains a critical global challenge. Despite notable progress under the Sustainable Development Goals, the pace of poverty reduction has slowed significantly within the period of 2020 to 2030, at risk of becoming a lost decade in the fight against poverty. It is saddening to note that nearly 700 million people live on less than $2.15 per day, with 3/4 of those experiencing extreme poverty residing in sub-Saharan Africa. Zambia, like many developing countries, faces persistent poverty, with approximately 54% of its population living below the poverty line. Zambia has reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to the principles enshrined in the Copenhagen Declaration and the Program of Action to guide its social development efforts, such as the social cash transfer program that has been implemented in Zambia that provides financial support to vulnerable groups. Further, the Zambian government has expanded social safety nets aimed at supporting vulnerable populations and investments in agricultural modernization to enhance food and nutrition security for all. Madam President, further, in an effort to promote social inclusion and building societies, you may wish to note that the Zambian government has enacted the Constituency Development Fund Amendment Act of 2024. This act provides for the decentralization of the management, disbursement, utilization, and accountability of the Constituency Development Fund. The CDF was introduced in Zambia in 1995 as a tool to facilitate the delivery of public developmental goods and services directly to the local communities. Was in the 2025 national budget increased significantly from 30.6 million kwacha in 2024, which is approximately $1.06 million, to Zambian kwacha 36.1, which is equivalent to $1.24 million in 2025, in each of the 156 constituencies in the country. This massive increase in the CDF has led to the
unprecedented development in community-selected projects such as school facilities, health clinics, water supply systems, youth, women and community empowerment, secondary boarding schools, and skills development bursaries. Dear colleagues, the CDF in Zambia has been touted as the game changer. Madam President, in addition, in an effort to promote social inclusion in Zambia, the government has also introduced free education from early childhood education to grade 12, as well as skills bursaries for those who drop out of school. The government launched the first fertilizer support program, which was later renamed Farmer Input Support and the Sustainable Agriculture Financing Facility, meant to improve access to agriculture inputs and providing small-scale farmers access to finance resources. Madam President, the Assembly may wish to learn that Zambia has also put in place various laws that specifically address discrimination and promote equality in the workplace. For example, in the Constitution of Zambia prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, gender, religion, ethnicity, or disability. Furthermore, the Employment Act and other labor-related legislation contain provisions that prohibit discrimination in employment practices. These laws aim to create a fair and inclusive work environment where individuals are judged based on their skills and abilities rather than personal characteristics. Other legislation include, but not limited to, the following: the Employment Code Act, the National Health Insurance, the Gender and Equity Act, and Pensions and Disability Act. Madam President, as I conclude, allow me to state here that as parliaments, we play a critical role in advancing social welfare, ensuring economic opportunities, and protecting human rights. As societies continue to evolve, it is imperative for us to remain proactive in addressing emerging social challenges. By enacting progressive laws, promoting inclusive policies, and holding governments accountable, the establishment and strengthening of pre-legislative and post-legislative mechanisms are the panacea in enhancing parliamentary action for social development and justice. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your speech. The next speaker is Israel. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam President, heads of parliaments, distinguished delegations, and especially our gracious host, the President and leadership of the Republic of Uzbekistan. Assalamu alaikum, shalom aleichem. It is a great privilege to stand here in Tashkent at the 150th Assembly of the IPU and to be the first Speaker of Knesset, the Jewish state's only parliament, to deliver a formal address in Uzbekistan, a Muslim state. My presence here reaffirms that the main conflict today is not between our faiths and not between our peoples. The true battle in current times is between radicals and moderates, those driven by hope and those fueled by hate, those who build bridges and those who burn them. My friends, I come to you from a traumatized nation, a nation that rose from the ashes of the Holocaust after 2,000 years of exile, pogroms, and persecution. All we yearned to was to live peacefully in our ancestral homeland, where the forefathers of our ancient people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, formed us as a nation. We extended our hands in peace to all our neighbors, only to receive a multi-front war in which, although we were outnumbered, we prevailed. Since then, we have managed not only to survive, but to thrive, to build, to invent, and to innovate for the benefit of the world. Since then, we have established peace with those who have come to terms with our existence. 5 years ago, I was fortunate to be a minister in the government that signed the Abraham Accords, expanding the circle of peace between Israel and additional 4 Arab Muslim countries. 2 years ago, I became the first Speaker of Knesset to visit a parliament of a Muslim nation, the Kingdom of Morocco. We were on the verge of expanding the circle of peace even further, but then came October 7th, the darkest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Innocent men, women, and children were murdered. Families were incinerated. Women brutalized. Civilians dragged into Gaza as living spoils of Hamas' medieval savagery. This was not resistance. It was sheer evil. Since that day, Israel has been fighting a seven-front war of survival, a war that cannot and will not end until we wipe Hamas off the face of the earth, return all our hostages, many of your capitals. They have learned a dangerous lesson, that the world is sometimes willing to feed the beast with the hope that they will be eaten last. If this evil will not be stopped at our gates, it will surely flood yours. And yet, the very institutions that claim to carry the banner of justice, the ICC and the ICJ, have betrayed their mandate by choosing to target those that fight terrorism. I recently hosted one of the European foreign ministers in the Knesset. You know, he told me, we consider recognizing a Palestinian state. Now, I said, that is a great idea if you want to reward Hamas for the atrocities of October 7th. That it is a splendid idea if you want to send a clear message to terror organizations throughout the world that this is how you get things done. They eventually did not recognize a Palestinian state. I am holding a map recovered from a kindergarten in the Gazan city of Khan Yunis. Behold, the real meaning of from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. A Palestine cleansed of Jews, a Judenrein Palestine. This kind of indoctrination made October 7th possible. This is not the peace of coexistence that we believed in. Peace must be attained by standing strong together, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and all people of faith, against the forces of evil led today by the Ayatollah regime of Iran. We must think out of the box in order to reach genuine solutions. My friends, in current times, you have a choice: to be on the right side of history or on the wrong side, to be on the side of those who cherish peace and coexistence, or those who bring forth death and devastation. Israel will prevail, and when we do, we will expand the circle of peace guided by the vision of Abraham Accords and the hope that brought me here today. Let this be the hour when the free world stands as one and proclaims the future will not belong to terror, but to hope, that the light of peace and justice will reach even the darkest corners of the world stage. Thank you very much. Kate Rahmat.
Thank you very much for your speech. The next speaker is Georgia. Please, the floor is yours.
Esteemed colleagues, members of parliament,
ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to stand before you today to elaborate on a topic that is central to the future of our countries: social development and justice. Social development is not merely about economic growth or political stability. It's about ensuring human well-being for all and improving the quality of life for our citizens. Parliaments play a significant role in shaping societies that are just, inclusive, and progressive. A democracy is not solely defined by the right to vote or the freedom of expression, but by actions that aim to ensure that every individual has the opportunity to live with dignity and equality. We fully share the conviction recognized in the Charter of the United Nations and the Copenhagen Declaration on Social Development, according to which social development and social justice are indispensable for the achievement and maintenance of peace and security. In turn, social development and social justice cannot be attained in the absence of peace and security. As we stand here today, the world is confronted by many challenges, starting from armed conflicts to poverty to environmental degradation. During these difficult times, we have successfully managed to maintain peace and stability in Georgia, in our country, that gave us an opportunity to focus on economic and social development that would allow our citizens to thrive. In the last couple of years, Georgia had enjoyed steady economic growth, which continued this year too. Georgia is also among top 20 in Europe in the Heritage's Economic Freedom Index 2025. Economic freedom is impossible without robust justice system, respect for the rule of law, and effective state institutions. And we see economic growth as an instrument of poverty reduction and social well-being, but also of national security and regional peace. As the parliaments are elected by the people, it is crucial to remember that we shall make laws and serve the people. In Georgia, we are committed to social developments that enhances the well-being of all. Over the past years, we have made strides in supporting families, ensuring social justice, universal health care, upholding the rights of vulnerable groups. We consider the family as a building block of a society, and this is why we put family support at the center of our social development agenda. We developed a health system accessible to all, regardless of background or income. We have also established social security programs that protect families in times of hardship. We have also developed various programs for supporting large families. We increased financial support at prenatal, postnatal, and childcare stages. In the last decade, pensions increased fourfold. In addition, we adopted legislation that ensures non-discrimination and equality. For example, the law on the elimination of all forms of discrimination, the concept of equality of men and women, women's economic empowerment concept. Furthermore, we approximated our labor legislation with European Union standards, established and strengthened the mechanism of oversight over protection of rights of the workers and labor safety norms. We also introduced laws that protect the rights of persons with disabilities. We ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and enhanced social support for disabled citizens. Moreover, considering the fact that we have IDPs from Georgia's occupied regions, we pay significant attention to their integration into our society, implement various support programs, including the provision of housing. Ladies and gentlemen, the role of the Parliament is not just to legislate, but also to ensure the effective implementation of the passed laws. It helps us evaluate the impact of those laws on real people and adjust our strategies when necessary. This is why we pay much attention to increasing transparency, strengthening anti-corruption measures, and building a system of accountability with the Parliament. As we look towards the future, I would like to emphasize the importance of global cooperation to address the challenges of social development and justice. A new social contract of humanity shall be responsible to complex challenges of the modern world. First of all, it shall focus on domestic and global peace and security by moving away from militaristic approaches to resolving conflicts and focusing on diplomacy, conflict prevention. It shall be based on democratic governance, accountability, and transparency. It shall aim to promote economic growth that will not only focus on GDP, but also on reducing inequality and improving the well-being of the people. It shall encompass the important goal of environmental sustainability, as moving to a green economy and sustainable practice will protect our countries and our planet. Dear colleagues, in closing, I would like to highlight that in Georgia we are deeply committed to our partnership with the international community. We stand ready to fruitful exchange and discussions. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. The next speaker is Guyana. Please, the floor is yours.
Madam President, distinguished delegates, salam, good afternoon. Guyana believes that to protect our most valuable resource, our human resource, we must have strong legislation. In this regard, allow me to share, Madam President, some facets of Guyana's legal and policy framework to aid in social development and justice. First, our Constitution enshrines fundamental rights and freedoms of our citizens. Our Article 159 guarantees the protection against discrimination based on race, sex, gender, and social origin in keeping with international standards. We have had since 1978 a Public Assistance Act that provides financial assistance to the elderly, differently able, single parents, and other vulnerable groups in society. Our Old Age Pension Act 1969 ensures that every citizen 65 and older receives a pension. Our National Insurance Scheme Act 1969 allows for social benefits, which include another contributory pension scheme, disability benefits, family benefits, medical benefits. Our Education Act ensures the right to education for all and compulsory education from 3 to 16. We will achieve universal secondary education by next year, and tertiary and university education is free from 2025. Our Labor Act 1997 provides security to employees with regards to fair wages, fair working conditions, and the creation of and membership to trade unions. Our Equal Pay Act 2000 provides that all employees shall receive equal pay for equal work. Our Occupation Safety and Health Act 1997 adopts international best practices. Our Prevention of Discrimination Act 1997 guards against discrimination on the basis of sex, gender, or sexual orientation. A new slew of acts came in. We have the Family Violence Act 2024 with 58 new sections to expand protection from various forms of abuse, particularly against women and children. Our Sexual Offenses Amendment Act 2024 creates several new sections aimed at establishing a strong framework against sexual harassment. Our Adoption of Children Amendment Act 2021 aligns Guyana with the Hague Convention on the Protection of Children and Inter-Country Adoption. Our Combat of Trafficking in Persons Act 2023 introduces comprehensive measures to prevent and combat human trafficking and enhance penalties for extraterritorial jurisdiction. Our Environmental Protection Act guarantees a good environment not only for our generation, but beyond. Our Public Health Ordinance 2005 provides access to healthcare services which are free, focusing on ensuring access to health services for all citizens. We have, Madam President, much more, and my remaining time will be ceded to our Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, who will speak after me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech. The next speaker is Bhutan. Please, the floor is yours.
Very happy afternoon. Honorable President, Excellencies, esteemed delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to join you all today at this 150th Inter-Parliamentary Union Assembly. On behalf of the Parliament of Bhutan, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the parliamentary authorities of Uzbekistan for their warm hospitality and excellent arrangement. The beauty and the culture of Tashkent have made us feel most welcome. I am honored to convey here the warm greetings of His Majesty the King, the people, and the Parliament of Bhutan. It is a privilege to address this distinguished gathering where we reaffirm our collective commitment to advancing social development and justice through parliamentary actions. The theme of this year's general debate, Parliamentary Action for Social Development and Justice, is timely and relevant in an era marked by growing social inequalities, economic disparities, and environmental challenges. Parliaments, as the cornerstone of the democracy, hold the responsibility of shaping policies that promote equitable opportunities, protect fundamental rights, and ensure access to essential services for all citizens. Without a firm commitment to justice, economic, social, and environmental development remains fragmented and unsustainable. Therefore, parliamentary action must be deliberate, informative, and responsive to the evolving needs of societies, ensuring that laws, policies, and the institutions actively work to reduce disparities and empower marginalized communities and uphold human dignity. Bhutan, guided by the philosophy of gross national happiness, firmly believes that true development must be holistic, balancing economic growth with social well-being, environmental sustainability, and cultural preservation. GNH is built on 4 pillars: equitable socio-economic development, environmental conservation, preservation and promotion of culture, and good governance. This philosophy guides every policy and legislative action in Bhutan, ensuring that progress is measured not just by economic indicators, but by the happiness and well-being of our people. Bhutan has made a significant strides in social development, particularly in healthcare, education, and poverty reduction. We are proud to have achieved universal health coverage, ensuring that every citizen has access to free healthcare services. Our education system guarantees free education up to the tertiary level, empowering our youth with opportunity and hope. We are proud to have reduced poverty from over 24% to less than 12.4% in 2 decades, reflecting our sustained commitment to inclusive development. The COVID-19 pandemic tested the resilience of societies worldwide. In Bhutan, under the visionary leadership of His Majesty the King, we adopted swift and compassionate responses ranging from free vaccination to economic relief packages, protection for vulnerable groups. This approach reflected our deep-rooted commitment to equality, solidarity, and shared responsibility. Beyond the pandemic, Bhutan is also addressing the global challenges of climate change. As a carbon-negative country, Bhutan remains steadfast in its pursuit of environmental justice. Bhutan's leadership in the G0 initiative, a coalition of carbon-neutral and carbon-negative nations, signals our determination that is inclusive, equitable, and future-focused. Equally vital to our vision of justice is the advancement of gender equality and youth empowerment. We welcome the IPU's 2025 priority theme of advancing gender equality as both timely and urgent. While Bhutan has made a significant progress in empowering women through policy reforms and leadership initiatives, we recognize that challenges persist in ensuring full gender parity in political participation, economic opportunities, and social representations. To bridge this gap, we are strengthening gender policies, enhancing support for women entrepreneurs, expanding programs that nurture female leadership in all levels. For this, Bhutan stands ready to collaborate with the IPU and international partners to further this agenda and share best practices in fostering gender-responsive parliamentary actions. Our efforts to empower youth are equally robust. Bhutan is investing in initiatives that foster entrepreneurship, civic engagement, and leadership development. Young people are not just future leaders. They are key actors in shaping more just and inclusive societies today. Bhutan is pioneering innovative approaches to sustainable and mindful development. His Majesty the King has envisioned the Gilifu Mindfulness City, an ambitious initiative aimed at creating a hub of well-being, environmental harmony, and economic opportunity. The Gilifu Mindfulness City will serve as a model for sustainable urban development, combining cutting-edge technology with traditional values of mindfulness and community well-being. It is a testament to Bhutan's belief that development must be both innovative and inclusive. Honorable delegates, in an interdependent world, national progress cannot be separated from global solidarity. Bhutan remains committed to multilateralism and parliamentary cooperation. Through the IPU, we have an opportunity and indeed a responsibility to learn from each other, to innovate together, and to build a world anchored in justice and dignity. May this assembly strengthen our shared commitment to building a world where every individual, regardless of background, enjoys dignity, equality, and opportunity. Thank you, and Tashtile.
Thank you for your speech. The next speaker is Sri Lanka. Please, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Honorable President, the Honorable Speakers of the Parliament, distinguished members of Parliament, esteemed guests. It is a privilege to address this esteemed assembly on the vital role of parliamentary action in advancing social development and justice. Sri Lanka stands at a pivotal juncture where economic recovery must be pursued alongside inclusive growth, equity, and protection of human rights. Through targeted legislative reforms, strategic budgetary allocations, and proactive governance, Parliament holds the power to build more just and prosperous society for all. It is witnessed that Sri Lanka is undergoing a transformative period. The newly elected Parliament of 2024, backed by a renowned public mandate, marks a significant departure from the political oligarchies that have dominated the country for decades. President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake, leader of the National People's Power Alliance campaigned on a platform of transparency, anti-corruption measures, and economic reforms, championing social development and justice. His vision has resonated with the populace exhausted by the crises that have engulfed the nation since 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past century, Sri Lanka's experience with an open economy has contributed to economic crisis and significant imbalances in national income distribution. Unregulated trade and market policies have exacerbated disparities, raising concern about government's role in safeguarding the well-being of its citizens. The renewed public mandate calls on Parliament to focus on inclusive social development and justice through lawmaking, oversight, representation, and budgetary functions. The 2025 budget approved by the Parliament prioritizes enhanced social protection, improved public health, modernized free education, gender inclusivity, and strengthened governance mechanisms. It also reinforces a strict policy on zero tolerance for corruption. A just society must protect its most vulnerable members. During the 2025 budgetary process, Parliament increased social protection spending to provide financial support for low-income families. Monthly allowances for kidney patients, elderly citizens, and persons with disabilities have been enhanced, reaffirming our commitment to social justice. Furthermore, allocation for open children and institutionalized youth will ensure access to housing, education, and vocational training, fostering long-term social inclusion. A healthy society is the foundation of sustainable development. The government has significantly increased the health budget to 604,000 million rupees for 2025, aimed at upgrading medical facilities, ensuring supply of essential medicine, and digitalization the healthcare system. Special emphasis has been placed on mental health services to uphold the dignity and independence of persons with disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, education is a fundamental pillar for social justice. Parliament has focused on upgrading school infrastructures to ensure that all students, regardless of their background, have access to quality education. Special investment have been made in vocational training programs, particularly for Malayanagam Tamil youth, one of Sri Lanka's most vulnerable communities. By equipping our youth with skills and knowledge, we are securing the future of Sri Lanka. Additionally, women's economic participation is central to national progress. Parliament has launched initiatives to prevent violence against women, empowered female entrepreneurs, and support working mothers. Financial stability for senior citizens has also been strengthened through additional interest payments, reinforcing economic security for the elderly. Ladies and gentlemen, combating corruption is a crucial component of social justice. Parliament has prioritized the enactment of the Proceeds of Criminal Crime Bill and strengthening of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery and corruption. A corruption-free Sri Lanka will foster a fair economy and enhance public trust in our institutions. Social development is incomplete without environmental justice. The Clean Sri Lanka initiatives promotes waste management, urban sanitation, and conservation projects. Parliament has approved the financial allocation to mitigate human-elephant conflicts and improve waste management, demonstrating our commitment to balancing human welfare with environment sustainability. ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to emphasize that as a representative of the people, it is our responsibility to ensure that Parliament's actions translate into tangible progress for our citizens. We can pave the way for social justice and sustainable development through well-structured policies, inclusive budgeting, and transparent governance. We work together to create a Sri Lanka where every citizen, regardless of background, enjoys dignity, opportunity, and security. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech. The next speaker is Fiji. Please, the floor is yours.
Honorable Chair, and through you, my delegation recognizes and pays our respect to Madam President of the 150th Assembly, the Honorable Madam President of the IPU, and the Secretary General of the IPU. Honorable speakers and members of Parliament, distinguished guests, it is my great honor to address you today on an important issue to the Fijian Parliament: our commitment to advancing social inclusion and leveraging technology to bridge gaps in our society and our region. First and foremost, I would like to highlight our efforts towards social inclusion through strengthening our parliamentary democracy and ensuring that the needs of all Fijians are catered for. Whilst we acknowledge that our journey with parliamentary democracy has been eventful, Fiji has continued to make significant progress in rebuilding democratic institutions and achieving political stability. Parliament has focused on reinforcing parliamentary democracy by actively promoting citizens' engagement in the democratic process and advancing social inclusion. We have taken significant steps to make our Parliament more gender sensitive, including incorporating gender analysis into parliamentary oversight and scrutiny, especially within our standing committees. By embedding gender-based analysis into the legislative processes, we aim to ensure that our laws and policies are equitable and gender inclusive. We have also mainstreamed oversight of the executive's commitments to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Sustainable Development Goals through the publishing of a guidance note on the SDGs for committees. These are social inclusion initiatives that we are ingraining into the legislative process to ensure that no one is left behind. In addition, two significant bills aimed at safeguarding children's rights and well-being were enacted unanimously in December last year, 2024. And these were the Child Justice Bill and the Child Care and Protection Bill. The Parliament, in so doing, is contributing to the national initiative to reform legal frameworks concerning child protection and family welfare, strengthening Fiji's compliance with international laws and standards. Honorable Chair, Speakers, and Members of Parliament, we recognize that our investment in ICT infrastructures and digital tools play a vital role in promoting social inclusion by bridging divides and creating opportunities to marginalized communities. We firmly believe that widespread access to digitalization and technological advancements is vital for the growth of our parliamentary democracy. As a small island developing state, we also acknowledge the challenges faced by many of our remote communities in accessing participation and information related to parliamentary processes. A central strategic priority for us is enhancing public engagement and empowering citizens to actively participate in and contribute to our parliamentary democracy. That is why we have made substantial investments in our Parliament's ICT infrastructure and digital technologies. Our Parliament has a hybrid system and studio setup that supports live streaming, sign language interpreters, and two-way virtual communication, making our Parliament more accessible to citizens and stakeholders. The hybrid system and studio also facilitates the free-to-air Parliament TV channel, which broadcasts parliamentary proceedings and committee sittings to enhance transparency and public engagement. We are deploying multi-language translations and captioning systems to allow citizens to better understand proceedings in the vernacular languages. Our endeavor to progress with digital transformation reflects our resolve towards fostering meaningful public engagement and good governance. These efforts reflect our unwavering commitment to fostering an inclusive society and leveraging technology to bridge gaps. It is with some satisfaction that we note in the IPU World e-Parliament Paper 2024 report, Fiji scores is 7 out of 10 in the top 20% under the decile ranking of digital maturity for all parliaments. We remain committed to leveraging technology to its fullest potential, ensuring that every Fijian can actively engage in and contributing to our parliamentary democracies. In conclusion, Madam Chair, Speakers and Members of Parliament, the Fijian Parliament has this week signed a cooperative agreement with the IPU for the purposes of establishing partnership, working together towards achieving the objectives of the IPU Center for Innovation in Parliament, where the Fijian Parliament will coordinate a CIP hub for the Pacific region, entitled the Pacific Parliamentary Innovation Hub, and where the Fijian Parliament will facilitate the exchange of experience and expertise between Pacific parliaments on digital transformation and innovation. In doing so, the Pacific Regional Hub will help Pacific parliaments to be more efficient and effective in their work and to be more open and transparent to citizens. The Fijian Parliament remains dedicated to advancing digital transformation, fostering great public engagement, promoting transparency, and strengthening good governance in the Pacific region to ensure impartial parliamentary contributions towards social development and justice. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your speech. The next speaker is Russian Federation. Please, the floor is yours.
Your Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to offer you my heartfelt greetings to the participants of the anniversary 150th Assembly of the IPU. Today it is an instrumental international platform where the international parliamentary community can discuss openly the most challenging issues on our global agenda. First of all, I would like to thank our colleagues from Uzbekistan for their hospitable and welcome and wonderful arrangements for our work. The topic of our debate
is as timely as ever. There is a lot of demand for equality and mutual respect of interests around the world. It is obvious that the unipolar world order, a world with only one sovereign power, and the claim by some countries for their cultural, ideological hegemony and hegemony in terms of values, all this will not bring us justice or development. We can say that most of the issues on the international agenda result from neo-colonial legacy that we have yet to overcome. There is an inequality of countries and natures. There is unipolar efforts to impose values on others. Some groups of countries want to ensure their well-being at the expense of the rest of the world. This led to the food crisis, endangered energy security, and led to restricted access to financial resources and to unequal representation in international structures. And of course, this paved the way for regional conflicts. And this approach will not succeed. What will succeed is a multipolar world order based on the principles of inclusivity and equality. And this is the guiding principles for the IPU. There are certain associations of states that still use illegitimate unilateral sanctions. They want to rule by force. And in order to address these urgent matters, parliamentarians can play an instrumental role. We, as legislators who represent our voters, have a historical mission. We need to facilitate equal cooperation, taking into consideration the interests of our people. And the IPU has an instrumental role to play in this regard. And we are appalled by the sanctions against parliamentarians in this context. I strongly believe this runs counter to the very essence of democracy. I believe that it is essential, colleagues, that we stand together and in defense on open dialogue, that we call for lifting all the restrictions and bans on parliamentarians. Russia faces an unprecedented number of restrictions. However, these repression against Russia failed. Our economy has effectively coped with this pressure, has rebuilt itself. We found new markets and we generate higher growth rates than those who impose sanctions on us. And these countries face higher inflation, higher energy prices, they face a recession. This creates a boomerang effect for them. But how do you recover trust and respect? This will be a much more challenging objective. Of course, international security is a major concern. These issues are always made. There are those who initiate these policies, there are those who sponsor them, there are those who benefit from these situations, and the Ukrainian crisis is a case in point. Western countries had their own geopolitical agenda to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. They have been spending hundreds of billions of dollars on weapons for the Kyiv regime while refusing all the proposals to resolve the conflict by peaceful manners. The interests of the defense manufacturers had the upper hand, so these resources, the international community lost them. Europe was the arena of two world wars, and now a third world war can happen, and it will be Europe's fault. And sanctions and the disrupted supply chains have a negative effect on the global economy and worsen the situation with food supplies. Russia-US contacts on the Ukraine issue. In this context, Russia wants to ensure that Russian agricultural products and fertilizers can once again access the global market despite all the unprecedented and inhuman sanctions pressure. Russia remains a reliable partner. Of course, there is another major issue, the problem of terrorism, including transborder terrorism and terrorist organizations try to pursue their own geopolitical objectives, but you cannot work with terrorists. This is always something that leads to tragedy for civilians. I believe that we can achieve tangible results in terms of social justice and fairness. We can only do this by working together. We need to work for the benefit of our people and the entire international community. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that we can work together effectively. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for your remarks.
Parlatino member and dear delegation, I would like to introduce Chairperson, Madam Pieglavaru. Thank you.
Señora Presidenta,
President,
honorables autoridades legislativas, distinguidas
parliamentarians,
parlamentarias y parlamentarios presentes.
ladies and gentlemen, it is very relevant that the 150th Assembly of the IPU is focusing on parliamentary action to foster social development and justice. At the beginning of this debate among parliamentarians, I would like to say we can contribute to results with a view to the Social Development Summit to be held in Qatar later in the year. This is a very important discussion. As parliamentarians, we must seek to achieve social development and justice as part of our work, representing the people over and above speeches and discussions on the eradication of poverty, the fostering of decent work, social inclusion, and education. All these things have been postponed for so long for the marginalized group. This debate is very useful in other terms as well, in terms of focusing on social justice. Some people talk about social development, but they seem to forget social justice as opposed to social development. We have a pact for the future approved last September by the UN General Assembly. The idea is to chart a course for development for all human beings and people who live in poverty or in a state of vulnerability. However, social justice was never really mentioned. Madam President, achieving social justice means you have to tackle the root causes of poverty and injustice. You have to promote equal opportunity and access to basic rights for all. Social justice must tackle this growing economic disparity and ensure equal access to opportunity and resources. The lack of resources should not be used as an excuse when every year billions of dollars are invested in military equipment. Why not in development and fair peace? We have to focus on multilateral cooperation, climate change, unemployment, poverty, discrimination, violence. There are many factors which disproportionately affect the most vulnerable and thwart the fight against inequality and the promotion of social justice. Lack of access to basic services like health and education perpetuate inequality and impede social development. Madam President, it is absolutely necessary to stand united and to work together for social justice and development. They are urgent. Action must be taken in favor of democracy within and among nations to promote peace and security. The use of force And the threat to use force is also contrary to the UN Charter and its values. The Latin American and Caribbean region, historically speaking, has been a systematic victim of various forms of aggression from abroad. Recently, there was the threat from the current government of the US, which is threatening to take over the Panama Canal. And likewise, the dignity of migrants in the US is currently being undermined. Many of them have been in the United States for a very long time. Their only offense is to work and to economically help their families. International economic relations also, over the past 6 decades, have not fostered such growth. Look at what's happened in the relations between the US and Cuba. Each of these measures, particularly the extraterritorial measures, are an unjustified violation of the right of our people to development. The recent announcement of a disproportionate increase in tariffs will lead to a trade war, which will inevitably have negative consequences on social development and justice. The state of affairs means that Parlatino wishes to work for a plural world based on equality and a global economic system which will be inclusive and will assist all. We must fall in with the common demands of all countries, and in particular, the developing countries. Madam President, social development and social justice, to be viable, require a conducive environment. Peace and international security are being ever more undermined. The genocide of the Palestinian people, perpetrated by Israel with the help of its Western allies at a time when there are more and more civilian victims, runs counter to many values. Indeed, we want to be a zone of peace in Latin America. We want to shield ourselves from such threats. But look at the threats in Europe owing to the threat of war. Climate change disproportionately affects the developing countries, particularly the most vulnerable. It does not make it possible to achieve sustainable development. And I would like to conclude on the following note. Parlatino invites all parliaments and regional parliaments as well to create a parliamentary alliance for climate change and a fair transition. This will be held on the 4th and 5th of June, and we invite you all to this global summit for the benefit of all. And I would like to wind up, Madam President, by very sincerely thanking our hosts. Uzbekistan has shown how well it can organize things. We wish to thank them for their very warm hospitality.
We'll now welcome to the podium Nigeria.
Madam President of the Assembly, Madam President of IPU, the Secretary General of IPU, most distinguished colleagues, especially those from my country, Nigeria, I bring you greetings from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the leadership of the National Assembly under Senator Akpabio and Tajuddin Abbas. It is my honor to address these esteemed gatherings of the 150th Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union here in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Today, as we engage in a debate on parliamentary action for social development and justice, I stand before you representing Nigeria, a nation dedicated to equitable, inclusive, and sustainable development through deliberate and impactful legislative action. In Nigeria, we firmly believe that social development It's not merely an objective for economic growth or environmental protection. It is a fundamental pillar that must guide all public policy. We have seen through extensive studies and practical experience that nations investing in robust social policies achieve human development indices that are up to 20% higher than those that do not. This clear evidence compels us to place people firmly at the center of our development agenda and to recognize that social development and sustainable development are intrinsically linked. Sustainable development is not just about protecting our environment or growing our economies. It is also about ensuring justice, fairness, and equity for every citizen. When we speak of social development, we refer to building societies where access to quality education, healthcare, housing, and decent work is not a privilege for the few, but a right for all. True sustainable development must be inclusive. It must bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots and ensure that progress is measured not only in economic terms, but also in quality of life experienced by our people. However, the path to sustainable social development is not without its challenges, especially for Africa. The continent is burdened by a huge debt load that strains public finances and often limits the resources available for social investment. Can Africa optimize social development justicably in the face of such financial constraints? This is a critical question, and while the debt burden presents formidable challenges, it must not be an excuse for inaction. Instead, it calls for innovative fiscal policies, debt restructuring, and importantly, greater support from the global community. When we compare the global South with the global North, we must acknowledge the stark historical and contemporary disparities. The global North has over centuries achieved considerable progress in social development driven by resources, driven by technology, driven by economic opportunities. Africa, on the other hand, is still emerging from the profound scars of the slave trade and the burden of colonization, a legacy that has left deep economic and social fractures. Measuring the progress of Africa's social development against the rest of the world requires us to look beyond the conventional metrics. We must consider historical context and the immense challenges that Africa has had to overcome. Despite these challenges, African nations have made significant strides in recent years. Yet, there remains a considerable distance to travel before we can say that justice and fairness in social development have been fully achieved. Honorable colleagues, in the spirit of justice and fairness, one might ask, should not the global North take up some responsibility for strengthening the sustainable social development of the global South? The answer is clear. Justice demands that those who have historically reaped the benefit of global economic structures contribute to rectifying the imbalances that persist today. In this regard, international cooperation, fair trade practices, and targeted investment in social infrastructure are not just acts of charity, they are imperatives of global justice. Nigeria has taken decisive steps to meet the global demand for sustainable social development and justice. Our legislative achievements in recent years bear testament to our unflinching commitment. One of the key pillars of our strategy has been the establishment of regional development commissions. Over the past year, the Nigerian Parliament has enacted legislation to create 4 new regional development commissions. These bodies are dynamic institutions tasked with the channeling resources where they are needed most, ensuring that policy interventions are tailored to the unique challenges and opportunities of each region. By decentralizing our development effort, we are breaking away from the one-size-fits-all approach and ensuring that every region can chart its own course towards sustainable progress. We have passed the Student Loan Act 2024 to open higher education to the underprivileged, complemented by a large increase in our budgetary allocation to education, ensuring that funds are available to support quality learning and empower our youth for the future. We have also established National Commission for Mass Literacy and marginally and out-of-school children, nomadic education, refugees, and internally displaced persons, and persons with disabilities, ensuring access, equity, and protection for the most vulnerable in our society. Furthermore, we have strengthened healthcare by ensuring free emergency treatment for pregnant women and expanding health coverage via the National Health Insurance Authority, expanded health coverage, and created financial support system, including non-collateral loans for youth and women cooperative, entrepreneurship grants for NYSC members, and mandatory entrepreneurship education in universities, advanced social inclusion with the Not Too Young to Run Act to unlock governance space for the youth. We are now considering 5 new gender equity bills to boost women's representation. We are also currently amending our constitution to increase the number of women in parliament and have enhanced funding for the Ministry of Women Affairs for grassroots empowerment, and passed the Nigerian Startup Act 2022 and the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 to unlock digital opportunities for young entrepreneurs and tech innovators, especially women. Another significant legislative measure has been our new minimum wage bill. This legislation not only safeguards the rights of our workers, but also lays the foundation for a more dynamic and productive economy, one where every citizen can participate fully and equitably. Complementing these initiatives are our progressive tax reform, driven by our progressive reformer, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The recent tax reform bills, which emphasize progressive taxation framework, are designed to ensure that those who benefit the most from our nation's economic activities contribute their fair share, while vulnerable Nigerians are not overly burdened. These reforms are critical in generating additional resources to fund our expanding portfolio of social services and infrastructure projects. In essence, by strengthening this fiscal backbone of our government, we are better equipped to invest in sectors that will lift our society as a whole. In conclusion, let me say Nigeria's journey towards social development and justice is designed and defined by a steadfast commitment to human dignity, to equity and sustainable progress. Today, as we deliberate on parliamentary action for social development and justice, I call upon all members of this esteemed assembly to reaffirm our shared commitment to a new social contract, one that places people at the center of every decision and prioritizes robust oversight and accountability. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Distinguished delegates, we will continue the general debate on the theme Parliamentary Action for Social Development and Justice. We have completed List A, and we now move to List B. We will begin with a distinguished colleague from Iceland.
Ms. President, dear colleagues, it is a great pleasure for me to say a few words about the political, economic, and social situation in the world from the perspective of our vital time. Healthy and development societies are founded on justice, equality, and opportunities for all. Today we live in an era where social development and justice form cornerstone of our future. Hence, it is our duty to ensure that children and youth have a chance to flourish on their own terms, regardless of their background or social standing. Governments, parliaments, and communities play a vital role in improving the position of children and youth worldwide. Our societies cannot achieve the goals of sustainable development unless we address armed conflict, poverty, and social inequality. The issue is not solely about the economy or the environment, but about ensuring that all children have equal access to opportunities, health care, education, and social welfare. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals provide us with essential guidance. In this context, special Goal 4, or quality of education, Goal 5, or gender equality, and Goal 10, on reducing inequality. In Iceland, the government priorities strengthening the welfare system to support children and youth, with special focus on those who live in challenging circumstances. It is crucial to ensure that no child is left behind, especially those living in poverty or who have experienced trauma. By investing in education and healthcare for children, we not only safeguard their well-being, but also the future of the society as a whole. The Icelandic government has also placed emphasis on improving the status of children and youth by promoting gender equality and advancing the rights of children with disabilities or those from marginalized groups. The focus on mental health, education, and social welfare is equally essential as children who grow up with a trauma or mental health challenges require specialized support. It is also important that children are given opportunities, participate in society, have their voices heard, and discussion making a process, and are able to engage political, social affairs. Ms. President, we must also ensure that climate change, natural disasters do not place children at risk. They are the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and it is our responsibility to ensure they have an environment that is both safe and sustainable. In conclusion, I want to emphasize achieving success in social development and justice for children and youth requires collective effort. It is not enough to simply strengthen the rights of children globally. We must ensure they are active participants in building a just and sustainable society for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Iceland. We now welcome our delegate from Paraguay.
Señora Presidenta, estimados colegas,
President, dear colleagues, parliamentarians, friends
de todo el mundo.
from around the world.
Vengo desde el corazón
I
de América del Sur, desde
would like
Paraguay.
to speak on behalf of South
pequeño en
America and
territorio,
Paraguay. Paraguay, a
pero
very
muy grande
small
en esperanza.
country, which has very great
Y vengo
hopes
con un mensaje
and
que no nace
aspirations.
de un
And I
discurso,
come with a message
sino de una
that's not
realidad
born
concreta.
of a statement. It's rooted
La
in a concrete
política
reality.
puede cambiar vidas
Politics can
cuando se
change
conecta
lives
con las necesidades
when it's
más profundas
connected
de la gente.
with the deepest needs of people.
En mi país,
In my
por
country,
primera vez en la historia,
for the first time in its history,
aprobamos una política
we
pública
have approved a
que
state
garantiza
policy which
alimentación
guarantees
escolar gratuita y
food and
universal
free
para
schools
todos los niños y
for
niñas de
all
Paraguay.
children in Paraguay.
Lo llamamos hambre
We
cero.
call it zero hunger.
Y no se trata de un
And
eslogan,
it's not just a
es una
slogan,
realidad
it's a
que ya
reality
empezó a construirse.
which has
Es un
already
programa
become
aprobado por el
tangible.
Parlamento,
The program was approved by
respaldado por el
Parliament
gobierno,
with the support of the
con
government,
iniciativa en nuestro presidente,
and the
y
initiative came
exigido por
from
el
the
pueblo,
president.
porque entendimos
It's designed
algo
for the
muy simple
people.
pero muy profundo.
We want something very simple but
No
very
hay
deep.
justicia social
We want there to
más
be
urgente
social justice. And social justice, what could be more urgent than a plate of food? This policy has led to state investment. All of these things are very important together with economic development, but let's not forget something. We have to look into the eyes of a child who is hungry. We must never forget that no country can talk about development if children haven't eaten anything when they go to school. And in Paraguay, we decided to set aside superficial debate and take a really bold step. Give food to all children in the country. And it's not just an educational policy. It's not just a social policy. It's a policy rooted in dignity, equality, fairness. It looks to the future. This decision was not an easy one to take. There was criticism, there were doubts, there were cold calculations, but some malicious people wanted the program to fail. However, it prevailed. What was stronger was the deep belief that politics is not to be based on what is possible. You have to build what is necessary. This program is not a form of populism or welfare. It's justice in the most basic definition of the word. No Paraguayan child, wherever he or she should live, should come to school hungry. A lot of you come from countries in a similar situation where there is economic poverty and there's not always food for people to eat. My message is therefore very clear. Social justice does not begin with speeches, it begins with action. And often, this action begins with what is most basic, a hot lunch, a decent supper, a childhood without hunger. We, Parliament, have the duty to go beyond words. We have to turn ideals into laws, dreams into budgets, and promises into tangible reality. Zero hunger is now a law in Paraguay, but more than a law, it is a moral statement of what we are prepared to do for the future of our people. Dear colleagues, in a world full of speeches, figures, and strategies, let us not forget what is fundamental. Politics is not worth promises, it is worth what it delivers. Social justice cannot be achieved through ideology, but through facts. Thank you for this step forward. President, thank you for welcoming us here so warmly. And insofar as possible, we will indeed try to make a real stamp on the history of our country. Parliament should continue to believe in a fairer world. It can indeed be based on what is essential. And in Paraguay, that consists in saying that no one should suffer from hunger. Thank you.
I now welcome to the podium our delegate from Montenegro.
Distinguished colleagues, it is a profound honor to address you today in a country known for its beautiful tales of love. Alpomish and Birchin, Farhud and Shirin, Munis and Yusuf, Otabey and Kumush. Those stories speak to the endless power of love in human history. In Montenegro, our heritage also speaks of love, but a different kind. Our national epics are usually filled not with happily ever afters, but with a struggle for freedom, honor, and faith. The love that runs through our verses is love for our homeland, for justice, and for dignity. For generations, Montenegrins fight for the dream of freedom. Many of our ancestors give their lives in pursuit of a future in which every individual could live in liberty. Long before our nations were organized as they are today, my people would gather in a circle known as the Guvno, a space of dialogue and collective decision-making, not unlike the very spirit of this Inter-Parliamentary Union. It was there that my ancestors envisioned a future where someone like me could speak freely and shape their own destiny. Today, that same responsibility laid with us. We must come together to imagine and build a world where our great-grandchildren would not only survive, but thrive. We are living in politically turbulent times, marked by uncertainty, conflict, and a growing disconnect between people and nations. In such times, dialogue is not only luxury, it is necessity. Forums like the IPU give us a rare and vital opportunity to listen to one another and to build understanding and to recognize our shared humanity. No matter our culture of origin, we all carry the same essential hopes: to be heard, to be valued, to be safe, and to be loved. When we engage with one another in that spirit, with openness and respect, we create the foundation for real and lasting progress. I firmly believe that the love that we will ultimately guide us forward. Love and knowledge both are needed to overcome the challenges of our time, from conflict to climate change. As a representative of our people, let us act with courage and vision. Let us ensure that the lives we lead today become a legacy for future generations we'll be proud of. A legacy not just of struggle and sacrifice, but of care, connections, and commitment to a better world. Let's give them something to write poems about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Montenegro. I would like to welcome now to the lectern the Honorable Speaker of Kyrgyzstan.
Greetings, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests. On behalf of the Kyrgyz delegation, allow me to express my gratitude to the Inter-Parliamentary Union and the host country, the hospitable Republic of Uzbekistan, for the opportunity to participate in such an important international multilateral meeting and for the high-level organization of the Jubilee Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. I would like to note with satisfaction that we are gathering within this unique platform to raise and discuss pressing issues and expand interparliamentary ties. The Inter-Parliamentary Union has been bringing together the world's parliaments for many years to discuss the most important issues on the global agenda. Within the framework of this assembly, we will raise the issue of one of the most important topics of our time, parliamentary action for social justice and development. This topic is particularly relevant and of great importance for the Kyrgyz Republic, which has a rich historical heritage. The Kyrgyz Republic, as a democratic state, consistently upholds the principles of social justice in its domestic and foreign policy. As an important proof of our commitment to these details, we can note the adoption of the resolution by the United Nations General Assembly in 2007 at the initiative of Kyrgyzstan, declaring February 20th the World Day of Social Justice. We actively promote human rights, issues on the international stage, including as a current member of the United Nations Human Rights Council. Today, the role of Parliament is of great importance for the sustainable development of every state and ensuring the principles of justice. The Parliament is the voice of the people. the main state body that projects the interests of the population. Social development and justice are not just slogans, they mean creating real conditions for every citizen of society. We deeply understand that the goals set cannot be achieved without the active role of the parliament. The Jogorku Kengesh, our national parliament, plays a key role in developing and adopting laws aimed at protecting citizens' rights, reducing social inequality, and ensuring inclusive development. In recent years, we have made significant progress in strengthening the social justice. Legislation in the fields of education and health has been improved, ensuring equal access to these fundamental rights for all segments of the population, including residents in remote Montenegro regions. Gender equality issues have always been given special attention because the involvement of women in economic and political life is not only a matter of justice, but also a powerful impetus for the development of society. Dear participants, esteemed colleagues, by social development, we mean issues such as education, healthcare, the labor market, social protection, and equal protection. Parliament can adopt effective laws in these areas, monitor their implementation, and directly influence the improvement of citizens' living conditions. First of all, the development of education is an investment into the future. Good education is a guarantee of the bright future, the most beautiful thing in a person's intelligence and knowledge. As the saying goes, mind is deeper than the sea, knowledge is higher than the mountains. I'd like to emphasize that providing every child with access to quality education is a guarantee of long-term social development. Secondly, strengthening the healthcare system is a key factor in ensuring the well-being of the people. Every citizen must have access to quality medical care. Third, labor and social protection policies must be fair. The issue of employment should become one of the main issues that Parliament will pay attention to. Dear conference participants, in the context of a global challenge, economic instability, and growing social inequality, the role of parliaments has never been more important. Legislative bodies must be a force for change, a platform for open dialogue and decision making that strengthens social cohesion and justice. The Kyrgyz Republic highly values international parliamentary cooperation and is ready to exchange best practices. We believe that through joint efforts, we can develop effective solutions to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals and build a just world. In conclusion, I'd like to emphasize that social development and justice are not one-time achievements, but an ongoing process that requires responsibility, wisdom, and political will from us. Once again, I'd like to express my gratitude to the organizers of today's event and wish all of my colleagues and participants successful and productive work. I believe that the current meeting will create a broad space for mutual cooperation and discuss for topical issues and will make a significant contribution to strengthening and expanding interparliamentary cooperation and partnerships between our countries. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We now welcome to the podium the Honorable Delegate of Serbia.
Thank you.
Distinguished Chairperson, distinguished colleagues, parliamentary action plays a key role in shaping social policies that promote social development and justice. Social development is just about economic progress, but it's also about advancing social and cultural values and about reducing poverty, inequality, and discrimination. Serbia's serious approach and commitment to enhancing human rights, social justice, and environmental protection is reflected in the series of laws we have adopted over past years to regulate all these issues. Therefore, the Parliament, as a primary authority, in a democracy plays a central role in enhancing democratic principles, in shaping the legal system and society, aspiring to reach justice, parity, and respect for human rights. However, many challenges faced by the world today may not be tackled individually. This is why parliamentary cooperation is pivotal. Above all, because it enables us to exchange opinions and positions and to thus discuss in a very straightforward manner all the issues of our common interest in an attempt to reach general goals and find sustainable solutions. Although we are witnessing an increasing social progress, the world is still facing disparities in living standards, and there is still a huge number of people living on the breadline and often in conditions that are a disgrace to the 21st century. Fighting against poverty is a global challenge, and it requests a comprehensive approach, including economic, social, political, and educational reforms. Poverty does not recognize borders, and it deeply affects all the regions in the world. Therefore, global cooperation and coordination are pivotal to the effective struggle against poverty. We believe that this issue should be our central focus and that living wages need to be in the focus of our economic and social development. Parliamentary action also plays an important role in promoting social inclusion, which entails active participation of all members of society, regardless of their social, economic, ethnic, racial, or any other status, by passing laws that actually protect human rights, enable access to education, employment, healthcare, housing, and social services. Parliament contribute to building a more inclusive, just, and equitable society. As a woman, I need to emphasize how important is greater participation of women, youth, and other marginalized groups, not only in political life, but in all spheres of society. What we need to ensure is that everyone's voice is equally heard. Advocating this issue is of imperative significance for social development and justice, as it is the only way to increase social inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, accountability and national economic and social development is a part of an agenda on every country's policy. The new social contract for mankind requires a deep transformation of existing political, economic, and social systems to direct them towards long-term sustainability, equality, and global cooperation. The world we would like to see entails continuous, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth and decent life for all. The world of sustainable development, the world where democratic values and principles are pillars of mankind, and the synergy of national and international institutions that guarantee respect for these values and principles. The new social contract for mankind is a vision of global cooperation founded on equality, sustainability, respect for rights, and joint responsibility. It underscores that all global issues, including poverty, climate change, and conflict, demand a joint response. It is only through global cooperation, respect for human rights, preservation of territorial integrity as a basic principle of international law that is respected without partiality and double standards, and through environmental protection that we can build up a just and sustainable world for future generations. Serbia is honored to have an opportunity to participate in the Jubilee 150th Assembly of the IPU. This is the organization, the largest platform for a dialogue among parliamentarians. Parliamentary cooperation is a bridge connecting nations, cultures, and ideas. Through dialogue, exchange of experience, international respect, and examples of good practice, we are certain that as parliamentarians, we have capacities, knowledge, and skills to contribute to building a better, more inclusive and just society. We are looking forward to hosting, I hope, second World Conference for Women and in Belgrade, in Serbia. It will be a great chance to pay our respect and gratitude to the great host of Uzbekistan. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Denmark.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is an honor to speak to you today about one of the most admirable social models in the world, Denmark's social welfare system. This system has proven to be one of the most successful in terms of poverty eradication, social inclusion, and providing an economic environment that promotes the well-being of all citizens. Denmark has built a society in which the most vulnerable populations are supported and citizens can access fundamental services like healthcare, education, housing, and economic opportunities. Today, I will describe how Denmark's social welfare system addresses some of the most pressing social issues and why it serves as a model for other nations. Healthcare is free for all citizens at the point of service, meaning no one is excluded from necessary medical care due to their financial situation. Education, from primary school all the way to university, is also free, empowering all children and young adults with the knowledge and skills they need to thrive in society. Furthermore, Denmark's social housing programs ensure that every citizen can access to safe, affordable housing, reducing inequalities and ensuring that no one is left behind. Social protection plays a crucial role in Denmark's approach to poverty eradication, and it begins with the most vulnerable populations. Denmark provides a universal pension to older adults, ensuring that they can retire with dignity, free from financial worry. Additionally, people with disabilities receive financial support and are given the tools they need to integrate into the workforce. Support for children through state-funded childcare and child allowances further ensures that all young people, regardless of their background, have the opportunities to grow up in a supportive environment. The country operates on a system of progressive taxation, where individuals with higher incomes contribute more, ensuring that wealth is redistributed in a manner that supports the social welfare system. This system of progressive taxation enables the Danish government to fund critical social services while reducing the gap between the rich and the poor. In addition to economic support, Denmark emphasizes the importance of decent and productive work. Fair wages and working conditions are guaranteed for all workers, and labor laws are designed to protect workers' rights, ensuring safe workspaces and fair treatment. Denmark is also a strong advocate for the social and solidarity economy, exemplified by cooperatives, social enterprises, and mutual aid societies. These organizations focus not just on profits, but on social impact, bringing people together to solve common problems and create community-driven solutions. And the Danish government support these initiatives. In terms of social inclusion, Denmark has made significant strides, and country has implemented anti-discrimination laws that promote equal opportunities for all, regardless of race, gender, or disability. Furthermore, Denmark promotes broad-based access to digitalization and technology development. The government has taken steps to ensure all citizens, regardless of background, so that they have access to the tools and knowledge necessary to succeed in an increasingly digital world. However, as much as Denmark's social welfare system has achieved, we must acknowledge that we are far from reaching the ideal. The ongoing debates in Denmark about improving the school system and addressing the rising administration and bureaucracy shows that there are still significant challenges to overcome. Despite Denmark's strong commitment to support people with disabilities, there has been growing criticism regarding the reforms of the disability sector, particularly from the European nation. The Danish welfare model is a work in progress, and as such, it remains a beacon of hope for what a strong, caring society can achieve, but also a reminder that the work is never truly done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denmark. We now welcome the Honourable Delegate from the People's Democratic Republic of Laos.
Assalamu alaikum, Excellency, Madam Chair, fellow parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the delegation of the Laos National Assembly, I am deeply honored to participate in the 150th General Debate in the Inter-Parliamentary Union held in the city of Tashkent, Uzbekistan, one of the beautiful cities in the world, under the theme Parliamentary Action for Social Development and Justice, which is an important topic in promoting and enhancing the role of Parliament to be better social development and justice. As you be aware, the current global landscape is continuing to face many challenges, experiencing increasingly complex change and difficult to predict, such as economic and financial crisis, the impact of climate change and the severe natural disaster, escalating armed conflict in certain regions, trade war, economic and trade vulnerability, coercive measure of some superpower, which inevitably affect peacekeeping, cooperation for development, and people's livelihood. I highly appreciate the role of the Parliament in promoting representation of all society for discourse and exchange to fostering peace, cooperation for socio-economic development, and the implementation of sustainable development goals in the world. Honorable Chairperson, LAPDR has been giving important and actively to implement SDG of United Nations by integrating all SDG into the 5-year National Socio-Economic Development Plan in each period, aimed to lead the national and the people of the LAPDR to live from the least developed country status and achieve this goal along with other countries around the world by 2030. Since the LAPDR opened up cooperation with other countries in 1986, the National Assembly of the LAPDR has been playing the role in considering and approving the creation and amendment of law in various sectors, with the total of 169 laws that complies with international norms and standards, as well as with the current context of the country. Particularly in the last 17 and 20 March 2025, the Laos National Assembly has completed its second extraordinary session that considered and adopted the amendment of the Constitution of the LAPDR after the old edition has been used since 2015. At the same time, we also approved the amendment of the law on local government and the law on civil servant, approved the amendment of the government structure by reducing the number of ministries from 17 to 13, and considered a policy on establishment of industrial zone in the LAPDR. All of these developments are important for aiming to enhance social and public governance and administration by the rule of law, in line with the national socio-economic development situation and international integration in the new era. Additionally, in 2024, during the Laos PDR was ASEAN chairmanship, the Laos National Assembly have also served as the ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly presidency and hold the 45th IPU General Assembly under the theme, the role of Parliament in enhancing connectivity and inclusive growth of ASEAN, which strengthen the deepening social economic integration and connectivity, particularly in transportation, telecommunication, digital transformation, energy, trade and investment, facilitation, tourism, production and services, and smooth supply chain, narrowing development gap, enhancing our capacity to address emerging challenges are critical to this vision. Honorable Chairperson, on behalf of the Laos National Assembly delegation, I would like to urge parliamentarians and members of the IPU to strengthen the cooperation for development for people-centered, promote public participation in all sectors, and uphold the common interests of all society with unity and harmonization. Moreover, we should attach importance to promoting social and public governance by the root of law, strengthening the role of Parliament in social development and justice that is equally accessible to all by approving the law and policies that align with international principles and the social environment of each country to ensure justice and equality for bringing the greatest benefit to our people. I would like to take this opportunity to express our appreciation to Uzbekistan National Assembly and the people of Uzbekistan for the warmly welcome and hospitality extended to our delegation during we arrived. Lastly, I would like to extend my best wishes to Your Excellency, Madam President, Head of Delegation, and distinguished representatives participating in this assembly, good health, happiness, and a great success in your noble task. And I wish the 150th Inter-Parliamentary Union Assembly has a great success. Rahmat, thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Honorable Prasuth. We welcome the Honorable Speaker of Tajikistan to the podium. Tajikistan, Honorable Speaker.
Ассаламу алейкум. Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые участники ассамблеи, дамы и господа. Позвольте выразить признательность за возможность выступить от имени парламента Республики Таджикистан на стол авторитетной и значимой парламентской...
If I may, I would like to speak up on this wonderful occasion. I would like to thank the 150th Assembly for the high level of preparation and for the relevance of the chosen topics for discussion. Today, when the persons and the people are facing lots of different challenges, social, economic, climatic ones, and geopolitical issues, these are the parliaments that have to take the initiative in finding the just and fair approaches and solutions. Discussing the topic on the parliamentary activity for the social fairness and development. It's not the pillar for the national stability, but also for the strengthening of the international peace and cooperation. In Tajikistan, the social justness, social sphere and development are the cornerstone of our state policy, implemented under the leader of the nation, the president of Tajikistan, His Excellency Amurami Rahmon. Under his strategic leadership, there have been implemented a number of reforms aimed at eradication of poverty, greater access to education, healthcare, clean water, and other important resources. The Parliament of Tajikistan is actively participating in the creation of different programs aimed at protection of rights and interests of all social categories, including most vulnerable groups, women, children, retired people, and those living in the mountainous and faraway areas of the country. We support the national strategies in the sphere of sustainable development. We foster the initiatives on the creation of new workplaces, new jobs, and strengthening the capacity of the youth in the labor life. We also work for the decrease of unemployment. Thank you for your attention.
Tajikistan. And now welcome to the podium our honorable delegate from Peru.
Good evening, Madam President, colleagues. One of the fundamental tasks which we have in politics when we hold state office is to bring about the right conditions to create a more equitable, fair society. We Parliament are faced with increasing dissatisfaction on the part of people. This is often legitimate and often fostered by speeches against the system, which undermine our institutions. Despite this context, the Congress in the Republic of Peru is actively working to bring about a more efficient, inclusive state which focuses on achieving results. We have key committees like the Committee on Social Inclusion to help the disabled, and we have committees on work and social justice, which draft projects to reduce inequality, protect vulnerable people, and improve labor conditions. We have special committees also to strengthen this agenda, like Peru Capital. The idea is to work in favor of the right to proper nutrition, and also we want Peru to strengthen these policies and comply with international standards. At present, we have 68 bills designed to reduce poverty and to promote work. Likewise, Latin American parliaments have presented an initiative which promotes the hiring of young people, disabled people, and senior citizens. We have a model regional law in this sense. Social development calls for stability in society. You cannot talk about inclusion and equity unless you firmly, and on the basis of international cooperation, combat organized delinquency in Latin America. This phenomenon transcends borders and it undermines rights. Likewise, it weakens institutions, it limits access to public services, and directly affects the quality of life of our citizens. In this context, citizens must participate in social and economic policies. That's the sine qua non for sustainable development. We cannot promote work, inclusion, and well-being if we don't have a safe environment. Peru recognizes that to fight poverty, you don't need subsidies, but robust institutions, integrated policies, and properly worked out budgets. In our latest report on Agenda 2030, the country has made progress when it comes to sustainable development goals, and we have the strategic plan for national development 2050. It is based on 4 pillars: sustainable development, competitiveness, and also we try to bring about a fair and democratic society. However, challenges remain. The informal economy, which represents about 60%, and only 1 out of 5 workers has access to a formal retirement scheme. Given the situation, we have a national system to monitor the implementation of SDGs that enables us to monitor 127 indicators and adjust our policies based on facts. We agree with the UN call to set up a new global social contract which focuses on individual well-being and guarantees universal access to health, education, employment, and participation in society and social life. Dignified work, a reduction in poverty inter alia, cannot be a utopia. There must be a sustained state policy over time. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Peru.
The Honorable Speaker of Belgium is now welcome to the podium.
Dear colleagues, let me first thank our Uzbekian friends and colleagues for the warm reception and the organization of this IPU assembly. It is my honor to address you here today in this beautiful country on behalf and as a head of the Belgian parliamentary delegation. We are gathered here to discuss social development and justice, important and just principles that are essential to the well-being of our societies. But in our pursuit of progress, we must not fall into the illusion that government alone can or should even remake the world overnight. The modern vision of social development, as outlined in the Copenhagen Declaration and the Sustainable Development Goals, sets ambitious targets. Although these targets are admirable, we must recognize the limits of governmental action, the dangers of overreach, and the unintended consequences of well-meant but flawed policy. We, dear colleagues, cannot ignore the fact that many past policies designed to do good have instead created a dependency, discouraged initiative of the civil society, and weakened the very social fabric they aimed to strengthen. I have to admit that I was often surprised to read the concept note. It states that the welfare states are being weakened. The reality in many Western nations, such as Belgium, tells a different story. The government's share of GDP, way over 50% in my country, demonstrates that the state's presence in our lives on many levels has even increased. Despite this enormous expenditure, we see diminishing returns and growing challenges. Rising debt, overburdened public services, crime in the streets of our big cities, and an economic environment that in too many cases discourages entrepreneurship and self-reliance. Instead of governments retreating, we are witnessing a growing dependency that raises the question whether it is sustainable or desirable. The concept note is also particularly critical of free trade and market liberalizations. They surely have their downsides. Nothing is perfect, but overall, they have created a lot of wealth and lifted millions and millions out of poverty. The history of the 20th century teaches us that centralized planned economies have the tendency to lead to failures. Similarly, in the realm of social inclusion, we should be wary of approaches that divide rather than unite. The policy focus should be directed towards ensuring equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Of course, states have a role to play. There is a place for safety nets and social security for those who are down on their luck, for public investment, for ensuring a level playing field. But there is also a point at which government intervention can become a hindrance rather than a help. Dear colleagues, I think we should, as politicians, concentrate on our core tasks because there are limits on the top-down approach, and let us remain modest in all circumstances as political people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. We now welcome the Honourable Delegate from Finland.
Dear colleagues, fellow parliamentarians, we have gathered here in beautiful Uzbekistan to talk about something that's at the heart of every representative of the people, how we as parliamentarians can practically advance social development and justice. Social development means a society that evolves to better serve its people, bringing well-being and fair rules. It's about making sure everyone has access to proper education, healthcare, jobs and safety nets. But how can Parliament push this forward? Parliament is the voice of the people, the forger of laws and the guardian of justice. It's the force that ensures the will of ordinary folks is carried out and that justice stands tall. I'll break this into the three parts. First, Parliament has to ensure that outdated laws are updated and the legal system protects people from discrimination and injustice. Justice isn't a perk for the elite, it's a basic right for every Finn. Second, we need to secure freedom of speech, the right to speak your mind and access to fair legal processing. In a just country, no one has to fear opening their mouth or standing up themselves. Third, we lawmakers must keep authorities and policy in check. Abuses of power need to be investigated, and if things aren't working, the laws need to be fixed. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to highlight a few things that are cornerstones of social development in Finland: education, nature, and trust. First, education, which is close to my heart. As the Vice Chair of the Education and Culture Committee, I'm proud to say that in Finland, every child gets a free and high-quality education, no matter their background. Our teachers are evaluated, well-trained, and free to focus on raising balanced citizens, not just test-taking machines. This investment has put us at the top of the world in literacy and numeracy. Second, nature. In Finland, we have clean and beautiful nature, forests, lakes, and air that's worth of breathing. Social development isn't just about people. It's about taking care of the nature that gives us the foundation for life. Clean waters and forests improve our quality of life and keeps us healthy. Finally, trust. Our society runs on people trusting each other, the Parliament and our leaders. Corruption is minimal. Things are handled openly, and Finns believe that by working together, we'll make it. That's why Finland has been the world's happiest country for 8 years straight. Dear colleagues, we parliamentarians can and must act for social development and justice in a straightforward way, listening to people and working for everyone's good. Thank you.
So let me introduce to you our last speaker, and that is Ms. Pia Glover from the Bahamas, and she will take the floor. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished colleagues, it is an honor to address you today at the 150th session of the IPU, as we also acknowledge the 40th anniversary of the Forum on Women MPs. We would like to thank the honorable host country, Uzbekistan, for the opportunity and for the hospitality. As a woman parliamentarian from a small island developing state, I note the progress that has been made internationally and within my nation, which allows me to stand before you today. But I also note the many changes that still need to happen to ensure equality and justice for all. Social development and justice are major priorities of the government of the Bahamas. We are committed to social development by, first of all, maintaining high levels of social support in the aftermath of the pandemic, while making adjustments to contribution rates for our National Insurance Social Security Scheme to ensure long-term sustainability. In doing so, we have maintained robust support for the elderly and persons with disability, as well as comprehensive benefits for illnesses, injuries, invalidity, maternity, death, unemployment, and retirement. We have also prioritized progress on labor, which is my portfolio as the Minister of Labor, which has led to the lowest unemployment rate since 2008 in the Bahamas. We see labor as one of our most powerful tools for economic empowerment and social stability. Our goal is to improve wages, benefits, working conditions, and worker fulfillment. The increase in the minimum wage, as well as the over 50 industrial agreements signed to improve wages and benefits throughout the public and private sectors, are just two examples of the progress we've made. As the Minister of Labor, I host quarterly meetings with our employer confederations and our trade unions, which has enhanced social dialogue and encouraged harmonious tripartism. Likewise, healthcare remains a cornerstone of our social development strategy. The government has embarked on ambitious initiatives to increase accessibility and affordability of quality healthcare. By investing in new, modern hospitals and improving and expanding community health programs, we are reducing health disparities by ensuring widespread access to quality health care, even on our most remote islands. Education and training are equally pivotal to our long-term vision for equality and justice. The Bahamas is modernizing its public school curriculum to focus more on foundational numeracy and literacy skills in the early years, providing more opportunities for learning trades, digital skills, and technical skills in the secondary years, and expanding professional training and lifelong learning initiatives to provide learning and upskilling opportunities for all Bahamians. National security is another critical pillar in our strategy. The data from our recently launched Clear, Hold, Build initiative gives us some promising insight into the effectiveness of our holistic approach to community policing paired with social change programs in high crime areas. Because we believe that food security is national security, we are investing heavily in local farmers through millions in grants and loans to lower our food import bill, to create profitable opportunities for farmers, and to provide more fresh, local produce for Bahamian consumers, especially in remote islands where access to fresh, healthy foods is very needed. Recognizing the existential threat posed by climate change, our government has taken decisive action on climate resilience and environmental sustainability. As we advocate for greater global action, we're making our largest ever investment in renewable energy, conducting groundbreaking research into the carbon potential of our seagrass meadows, and generating our own climate resilience financing with our Sustainable Development Program. Through our approach, we are securing a just transition by creating accessible opportunities in new industries and investing in climate adaptations as we seek to mitigate the impact of climate change on all Bahamians. We're also leveraging private sector investments and public-private partnerships to take us toward our strategic goals. We see accessible economic opportunity as critical in any conversation about equity and justice. While our very high status in the Human Development Index indicates a degree of success, we will not be satisfied until we've adequately addressed inequality through investments in education and training. the creation of jobs, and the empowerment of business owners. Through integrated social and economic policies, we're not only addressing the challenges of today, but also laying a strong foundation for the prosperity of future generations. Our agenda is a testament to our belief that true development is achieved when justice and opportunity are extended to every citizen. Colleagues, as members of the IPU, we have the opportunity before us today to advocate and collaborate to accelerate progress across the range of social development and social justice issues. We in the IPU are well positioned to use this platform to drive change across the globe and in our home countries. Let's embrace this opportunity to make a difference in the fight for equity and justice. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you very much, Ms. Glover. And then we have to end a request for a right to reply from India. So if I may ask our colleague to approach, and you have... From his seat. Oh, it's from his seat, okay. You have 2 minutes and it's from your seat. So please, the floor is yours. The seat is yours.
Honorable Chairperson, sir, cross-border terrorism has long been a scourge, inflicting immense suffering across the globe. India, in particular, has borne the brunt of this menace for decades, with our neighboring country being a persistent source of such cross-border terrorism activities. In this context, any statements on Kashmir, coming from the very nation that has sponsored terrorism in the region, only adds insult to injury. It is imperative to assert unequivocally that Kashmir is and will always remain an integral part of India. No amount of rhetoric, no amount of persistence or stridency can alter this fundamental truth. The people of Kashmir have repeatedly demonstrated their rejection of the violence and extremism propagated by forces across our borders. This is best exemplified by the overwhelming mandate during voter participation in recent elections in Jammu and Kashmir by 58.5% in the general elections, the highest in the past 35 years, and an even more significant 63% in the 2024 Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections. These impressive mandates and voter turnouts represent more than just electoral participation. They are a resounding mandate for progress, development, and democracy. The people of Jammu and Kashmir have spoken clearly. They seek a future of peace, prosperity, and progress with India. They have firmly rejected the destructive ideology of hate and cross-border terrorism that has plagued the region for far too long. I conclude, in the face of this decisive and massive mandate, it is time for our neighbor to reflect on the reality that the people of Jammu and Kashmir have turned a new page, one defined by hope, progress, and prosperity and peace. I thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much for your last intervention. And this ends, my dear colleagues, today's session of the general debate. I thank you very much for your cooperation. And of course, tomorrow we have a new program, and I want to say that tomorrow we will have a keynote address by the President of Uzbekistan. So be here on time. I wish you a very pleasant evening, and we see each other tomorrow. Voilà.